Hi, everybody. Steve Paikin here. The world is changing fast, eh? I'm not sure I've ever experienced anything like it in my 40-plus years of journalism. Where does Canada fit in all of this? From federal politics to foreign policy to in-depth one-on-one interviews, we'll try to help you understand this uncertain era in which we now find ourselves. The Paikin Podcast. Find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
It was on this day in 1984, a fact that should not surprise you in the least, because that song has 1980s written all over it, if I do say so myself. It's Duran Duran's The Reflex, and it went number one on the UK singles chart on this day in 1984. The song comes from Duran Duran's third album, Seven and the Ragged Tiger, which also, by the way, became a number one album. But the song, The Reflex, goes number one on this day, May the 5th, back in 1984. And that's how we begin our time together on this Tuesday morning. Welcome to the show. It occurred to me last evening, I don't say it often enough, so please allow me to say it right now. Thank you for stopping by, spending some of your time with us. It is the most valuable commodity you have, after all. So really appreciate that you spend some of that valuable time with us here on the show and engage in the conversation. This is the most interactive radio program anywhere in this region, and our phone lines open to you the minute we begin the show every day. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Just going back to the song that started the show today, speaking of music, your theme for this week's All Request Friday. Every Friday we play your favorite songs on the show, or the songs that you choose anyway. They might not be favorites. You might just want to see if we'll actually play the songs that you request. We do that. Absolutely. We do that. A little bit of them anyway, up to a minute of the song that you request, and we always put a theme around it. And the theme this week is songs that have a day of the week in their title. So you choose the song that references a day in the week, and we'll play it for you. As many songs as we can this Friday on your All Request Friday. You can make your request by sending an email to mike@570news.com, or when you call in to talk to us today, just let Jen know. She's answering the phones, and you let her know what song you want to hear. We'll play it for you on our All Request Friday this week. The theme is songs that reference a day of the week. Let's go to those phones. It's always busy to start our show. Gary is with us, Farwell's Force member number 41. Hello, Gary.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
Good, thank you. And you?
I'm good. I'm just out driving some parts. I don't have any customers in the car to say, oh, can we listen to some music instead of talk radio?
Listen, Gary, if you ever get a customer in the car that says, can we listen to something other than talk radio? You just say, no, you cannot. Yeah, talk radio is good for your brain, buddy. Stop it now.
I usually do. I usually just leave it on or turn it down a bit, and as soon as I get out, I turn it back on. So, no, it's some say that they do listen to the show, and I'm like, oh, are you a part of the force? And they're like, well, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God, you got to phone in and pick a number, and you can be a part of the growing team.
That's right. Farwell's Force for Good, Force for Change, Force to be reckoned with. Spread the word, my friend. Preach the gospel.
That's right. That's right, buddy. is this May or is this October? Like, honest to God, like, can we get some, double digits, sunshine, something going on here? Because this is, like, horrible.
You know what? Thank you for bringing that up. I hope we all enjoyed our one day of spring yesterday. Shocking that the update we got from the E.D. Sulis weather station at the University of Waterloo told us that April was one of our wettest ever, right? Like, what? We come off the worst winter that I can remember, second most snowfall in I don't know how long. Anyway, it frustrates the HE double hockey sticks out of me. And now we can't even get a spring worth a tinker's darn right now. Yesterday was lovely. Today sucks. I'm sorry for using such strong language so early, but today's weather sucks. Tomorrow's weather is going to suck again, and I'm done with the sucky weather. Okay? Simple as that. I would like something when you get a day like yesterday. How about a few in a row? Can we try? Can I get 2 liters of pop? How about a few nice days in a row? I'll take that. Thank you very much. Dan is also with us early this Tuesday morning. Farwell's Force, member number 366. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
Good. Good to talk to you. So we got home ice advantage. Is that what happened?
I do believe, sir, that is exactly what happened, yes.
Right on. So you're busy now for another couple weeks.
Listen, it's my favorite way to be busy. Bring it on. Let me keep going to the hockey arena in May. Thank you very much.
Right on. So you must be making plans for Kelowna then. You must have a bag packed.
Whoa. Dan, one step at a time, buddy. One step at a time. Okay.
It's okay to be confident, Mike, just not cocky, right?
I suppose. Sure.
Right? I'm just being confident. I'm a Leaf fan, so, whenever I get a chance to be confident about the team I'm supporting, I go all in, Mike. So
How confident are you about the team you're supporting right now?
I'm really confident. They got home ice now. Mike, they had a terrific season.
Oh, no, I was asking about the Leafs. Sorry. How confident are you about them?
Oh, Mike. I don't know what that hiring press conference was about. That's like, you know what I mean? That doesn't fix anything. And this guy was sent out on a rail because some kind of an email scandal where he was trying to get a job while he already had a job. So, is that the kind of culture we want to start promoting? We got enough problems without having a guy, Anyway, Mike, I'll let you expound on that.
All right. Did you hear the question from Steve Simmons at the press conference yesterday?
I didn't. You
didn't? Okay. Stay tuned. I'm going to play it for you right now, okay?
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Dan. Enjoy the rest of your day. Great to hear from you. It was one of the boldest questions you may ever hear at a media conference, but Steve Simmons, a reporter with Sun Media, and a notorious crank. Like, you thought I was cranky? Wait till you listen to this question from Steve Simmons, directed to Keith Pelly, who's the president and CEO of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, when the team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, introduced yesterday their new consultant and ambassador of all goodwill, Matt Sundin. Everybody loves Matt's, that's fine. And their new general manager, John Chayka. This is the question that Steve Simmons posed to Keith Pelly.
You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say, 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring, and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion than I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
So a couple of things here. First of all, I love Keith Pelly's answer. I don't love the framing of Steve Simmons' question. Look, I think it's fair to say that Steve Simmons did ask the question that's on the minds of every hockey fan, because we've all heard the criticisms of the hiring of this John Chayka fellow as the new general manager. I'm sure Keith Pelly is well aware of that too. But there's a better way, there's a more respectful way to ask the question than the way that Steve Simmons, notorious crank, asked it. And that's just not going to help anybody. Like, we don't have to be combative with one another that way. You can ask the question in a much more respectful fashion. But hey, Steve Simmons, it's going to Steve Simmons. Ellen is with us this morning as well. Farwell's Force, member number 345. Good morning, Ellen.
Oh, Mike, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you.
I have missed you.
Oh, you must be a Rogers TV viewer.
Yes,
okay.
Well, I kept checking for you and you weren't there.
Well, Ellen, I'm going to, while you bring...
The team,
okay.
And they did so well. Very proud of them.
The Kitchener Rangers?
Kitchener Rangers.
Yeah, you betcha.
Also, Mike, I've got a new what do you call them?
Jackwagon?
Jackwagon to add to your list.
Okay, bring it on.
And that would be the creep that stole the gong out of the cancer center.
That would absolutely be somebody we should throw into Jackwagon jail and do not give the key back.
Amen for that.
Amen. All right, Ellen. Well, thanks for tuning in this morning.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Great to hear from you. I love our Rogers TV Cable 20 audience. We were away because Rogers TV Cable 20, based out of Kitchener, is responsible for broadcasting not only Kitchener Rangers games, but Guelph Storm games and Brantford Bulldogs games. We cover a pretty broad area. And so I will not claim to understand all of the conditions of broadcast license, et cetera, but so much hockey. There can only be so many hours of community programming and local programming. Again, I don't understand it all. I'm not paid to understand it all. But you can only have so many hours of so many different things. And so with all of those hockey hours, they had to cut back on this show. We are back as of yesterday, but I want to warn you, okay? Unfortunately, this is not a permanent thing. There's going to be a change coming again in September. I know that's down the road. And believe you me, it frustrates me as much as it frustrates you because it's kind of been an on-again, off-again cycle. But starting in September, we are going to be down to just halftime on Rogers TV Cable 20. So you'll see the show from 9 until 11 every day starting in September. From now until then, we're here for you. We'll take a little break in the summer, but until September, we're here from 9 to 1 every day. Starting in September, it'll be 9 until 11. They'll just take half of the show. Again, I will not claim to understand all of the conditions. There are smarter people than I who do a very good job of managing that, and that's where we're at. So just brace yourself for that. If you are a Rogers TV watcher, we're with you through the summer, and in September there will be a slight change, but we are always, every ding-dang day, right here on 570 News Radio in this beautiful studio talking to you from 9 until 1, okay? Jeff and Mark, I see you on the phone. Hang in there if you could, because we got to get to our Farwell Show 5 this morning, and then we'll come back with more calls as we continue on the show.
1, 2.
All right, we're going from 2, but up to 5 on your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning, the 5th of May. Number 1, the Kitchener Rangers will have home ice advantage for the OHL Championship, and they know who they'll be playing. The Barrie Colts came back from a 3-1 series deficit to stun the Brantford Bulldogs in Game 7 last night, winning 5-0. Barrie then gave the most bizarre post-game press conference ever.
Coach, words probably escape you after that one. Maybe you can try your best.
No one cares. Work harder.
Okay, Sean, big moment for you, a goal tonight. Hostile environment. What can you say about the way your goaltender played in that one?
No one cares. Work harder.
Can you just contrast what you must have been feeling 6 days ago, leaving the arena, losing 6-1, and what you're feeling now?
Yeah, it's a good question. No one cares. Work harder. Really good. No one cares. Work harder.
No one cares. Work harder. Yeah. No one cares. Work harder.
That'll conclude the Barrie Colts portion of tonight's postgame.
35 seconds. All they said, Dylan Smoskowitz, the head coach, and the captain of the Barrie Colts, Kayshawn Aitchison, all they said was, no one cares, work harder. Our Rangers are going to face those hardworking Colts in the OHL Finals. That starts tomorrow night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Tickets go on sale this morning at 10, 45 minutes from now. Number 2, the ceremonial gong from the Cancer Center at Wren at Midtown, formerly Grand River Hospital, is still missing, but Regional police say an arrest has been made in the investigation. A 44-year-old man is now facing theft charges, but that gong has not been recovered. As you heard Ellen say a moment ago, we are hereby sending that 44-year-old man to Jackwagon Jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. We're throwing away the key. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, a vigil will be held on Parliament Hill today for missing and murdered Indigenous women. Today marks Red Dress Day, inspired by Métis artist Jamie Black, who used red dresses to represent missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls at an exhibit at the University of Winnipeg to raise awareness of the issue. Number 4, today is not just May the 5th, it's Cinco de Mayo, and that means some Mexican-themed fun. Our friends at Martini's in Kitchener are selling all-you-can-eat tacos today and a special margarita in support of Farwell for Hire. $1 from every all-you-can-eat taco order and $2 from every special margarita sold will be donated to Farwell for Hire in support of cystic fibrosis research. So why not treat yourself today and help us get a head start on our fundraising at the same time? And number 5, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, you can see the Hunchback of Notre Dame on silent film while the music is being played live in concert at Gale Presbyterian Church in Elmira. The show happens next Friday, May the 15th, and Ian Sadler will perform on the organ. Tickets can be found at Gale Presbyterian Church on Barnswallow Drive in Elmira. Proceeds,
Coach, words probably escape you.
Proceeds will be benefiting suicide prevention. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for a Tuesday morning.
A Monday warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Can I have 2 liters of pop? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Well, what's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola? Do the math.
Do the math. What's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola? Can I have 2 liters of pop? My buddy Craig, who was in here yesterday with his volunteer committee members of Hockey Helps the Homeless Waterloo Region, brought me 2 liters of pop. So now can I have 2 liters of pop? I've got 2 liters of pop. We'll get to Jeff's and Mark's call right after this. And hey, there's a phone line for you as our morning wake-up call is next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every day when we start the show, we make sure our phone lines are open so you can be a part of the show with us at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Jeff is with us this morning. Farwell's Force member number 19er, breaker, 19er.
Hey, little buddy, how are you?
Good, Jeff, thanks. How are you?
Good. Sorry I had to hang up on you yesterday, but it's so heartwarming stuff that has just transpired today, and I'll get into that very quickly here. First of all, I don't want to talk about the Leafs right now. As you know, you and I both are Leaf fans, and so was that gentleman there. We try to be positive thinking, but anyways, I wanted to call you yesterday to tell you about that gong that was stolen out of the Waterloo Wellington Regional Hospital there. Unfortunately, I'm going there, Mike. I have been going there, and with goosebumps on my body, today's my last treatment that I have to go through, and that gong was stolen last week, and I was looking forward to today banging it hard and screaming, yeah. Unfortunately, Mike, the people that are there in the hospital, I've been really, really blessed. Good people from the front door bringing you in, good people back in the radiologist area. Everybody there have to be complimented. And for this to happen, thank God they found the individual, Mike. And yeah, I'm a little bit sentimental right now. I'm hoping that the 33 treatments that I've had, Mike, is going to fix this old body of mine up, and I'll be able to talk to you for longer and being happy. And you know me, Mike, I try to be happy-go-lucky, and sometimes the good Lord puts things in your way, such as the Leafs. But anyways, Mike, I just wanted to give compliments to the hospital, to everybody that's there, that make us guys feel wanted, feel happy, and it's unbelievable. And for that gong to be stolen, TV gong, it's not good, Mike. And but anyways, buddy, I love your show. You make me laugh, and yes, you've been with us a long time. What is it, 2007?
I've been at the station since 2007. I started the show in 2017, so 9 years next month.
Isn't that wild,
It's
Mike?
crazy, eh?
But anyways, yeah, little buddy, I know we got time for that one more individual to get on there. I just wanted to say, and I know they listen to you there, so today's my last one, Mike, and I hope the good Lord helps me to get through this, and that I'll know by August if I beat it again. So, buddy, good to see you. You're back on Rogers, and we will talk to you later, man.
All right, Jeff. Good to hear from you. Farwell's Force member number 19, and you got the rest of the force behind you, my friend, as you finish that last treatment. And whether you bang the gong or not, you're going to be through this, and we're wishing you the very best of health for sure. Mark, thanks for waiting. Good morning.
No problem. First of all, Mike, nice call from Jeff. All the best to him. His last treatment, that was a good call.
Absolutely.
Now, I have a question for you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
I know 3 teams and the host team make it to the Memorial Cup.
That
right?
is correct, yes.
What if the host team makes it to the Memorial Cup legally? Is it only 3 teams then?
No, the team that they beat in their conference final or their league final will also go to the Memorial Cup then.
I see.
Yes.
Has that happened before, Mike?
Oh, yes, it has. In fact, let me share this little tidbit with you, Mr. Mark. The last time that the host team won their league was 2008. Do you remember who the host team was in 2008, Mark?
2008. I know No, it wasn't the Rangers. Was it the Rangers?
It was the Rangers. That's right.
Oh, okay.
So in 2008, the Rangers got to the OHL final against the Belleville Bulls. Kitchener won the OHL final, but they were already the hosts of the Memorial Cup. So Belleville, even though they lost the OHL final, still got to go and participate in the Memorial Cup as well.
Okay, cool trivia, Mike. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling. It's a bit of a weird thing. The whole idea of the host team is a bit of a weird thing. For example, as I said, 2008, so 18 years ago, was the last time the host team actually won their league and won their way into the Memorial Cup. So you're thinking, well, why should a team get to participate in the Memorial Cup if they don't even win their way into it? But they keep a host team because it helps to encourage those ticket sales, right? If you don't have a team playing, if you don't have a vested interest, it's going to be harder to sell those tickets. So Kelowna, for example, the hosts this year they were eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. So they've been kind of sitting around for a few weeks already. They'll wait for the Western Hockey League final to conclude. And the winner of the Western Hockey League final will be one of the Western teams represented at the Memorial Cup. Kelowna, the host, will be represented, obviously. And then Kitchener or Barrie out of the Ontario League. And I haven't looked to see who's competing in the Quebec League, but that's how it all comes together. The last team to win their league as hosts of the Memorial Cup, your Kitchener Rangers back in 2008, which is also the last time the Kitchener Rangers won the OHL championship. They are going to open. No, let me change that. We are going to open on home ice tomorrow night. The Rangers taking on the Barrie Colts, game 1 of the OHL final. What would you rather do on May the 6th other than go to a hockey game? Can't wait. Did I mention tickets go on sale at 10 this morning for that first game? Well, and the second game, which will be Friday night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. So get your tickets as of 10 this morning. An update is on the way from the 570 News Center. And then let's talk to the man who would like to be the mayor of Cambridge. That's next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. This is a municipal election year, and our pledge to you is to keep you as informed as we can between now and Election Day on October the 26th, so that you can make the most informed decision when you head to the ballot box. It is my sincere hope that more of us than ever get involved and get out and vote. Remember, your municipal government is the level of government that impacts your daily life more than any other. The sidewalks you enjoy, the trails, the parks, the roads you drive on, waste collection. I could go on and on. Every day, multiple times a day, decisions made by your local government are impacting you. And for some reason, turnout for municipal elections is the lowest of the bunch. So we're going to do our best to get those turnout numbers up. Would love to see more people getting involved. And our way of doing that is to keep you informed as to what is happening in the municipal election. Last Friday, May the 1st, was the first day any candidate for school board trustee, municipal council, mayor, regional chair, etc. could file their nomination papers. And the first person out of the gates in Cambridge for the position of mayor was current Ward 7 councillor Scott Hamilton. And Scott makes time for our show this morning. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm actually a little bit tired and sore. I ran the Toronto Marathon on Sunday, and I am still feeling it.
Well, that'll teach you to run 42 kilometers at a time, Scott.
Well, I've got a bone to pick with you, Farwell, which was the last time I was on your show, you joked, will you wear your Canadian Tire toque? Because I think you phrased it as, by May, the weather should be hot and muggy. And so I woke up in Cambridge to drive down to Toronto on Sunday morning, and it was a balmy -2.
Yowza.
So you jinxed it, Mike. Thanks.
But did you wear your toque, though?
I did. It came in handy. I needed it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So you can pick that bone, but now you got to be a little bit grateful for the great advice, right?
It was fantastic. It came through in the clutch, right? It wasn't just good looking. It was very practical. So thanks, Mike.
I'm glad it worked out that way. Marathons aside, why have you chosen to throw your hat into the race for mayor in Cambridge?
Yeah, from one marathon to a different type of marathon, right? Running for mayor. I have lived in Cambridge now for almost 10 years. I've lived around the world, in England, across Canada, and my wife and I settled in Cambridge. We're raising our family here, and I just think, like so many residents, there's so much potential here. And I feel my leadership will really help move the city forward to turn some corners. So whether it's focusing more on our rivers for tourism, placemaking, active transportation, whether it's revitalizing our cores, boosting our economic development to create good and sustainable jobs, I just think there's so much we can do as a city if we are willing to listen to our local experts, to look at the latest trends in the global economy, in the national economy, in the local economy, and really think ahead as what can we do to prepare our city, not just for today, but what can we do to prepare our city for the changes that are going to come in the future. So I'm really excited to live in Cambridge and to think of the future that we all have together as residents. So I thought I'm going to throw my hat in the ring because this is my home. It's where my kids are growing up, and I want to create a place that's safe for kids, for families, for seniors, for today and for decades into the future.
It's a vision that sounds very nice. I especially like the idea around the rivers, which are a signature feature of the city of Cambridge and perhaps any tourism that can come. But of course, we are living in difficult economic times, and these things would not come inexpensively, Scott. So how would you achieve that with only property taxes to levy as a way of generating revenue?
Right, and there's only one taxpayer, right? So one of the first things I would do, Mike, is accept that we as a city don't have control over the region's budgets. We don't have control over what the province is going to do, the feds. So if we take a highly combative approach with people that are our key allies, we're not going to receive much in terms of an economic benefit. So coming to the table as full collaborators with other levels of government, if we are having services downloaded to us, like the province is now putting housing on cities, it's putting healthcare, it's putting a lot of social services. The first is working with other levels of government to ensure that we as a city are getting funds that are required to keep our city operable while taking that collaborative approach where we can demonstrate to our partners that we're all going to win. Another is actually reviewing our capital costs. So projects are adding up, and every single time you build something in the city, it costs money to build and then money to maintain, and those are called operating costs. So doing a full review, what are those projects on the docket that maybe aren't as relevant these days? Or what are the newer projects that might actually be more beneficial at less cost? That's a great way to lower a lot of costs, and it wouldn't take much staff capacity or time. And another thing, Mike, is actually align council, working with council really as partners, as a team, make sure our economic development and our housing realities align with the policies that can come to the council horseshoe. So for one example would be to try to reduce the costs that we as a city are spending at things like the Ontario Land Tribunal. According to the Cambridge Today, I think it's about $412,000 have been spent right now fighting OLT cases, and I think that will go up in the future as well. Another would be the culture at City Hall, trying to create an atmosphere for our staff and for our city that really reduces attrition. Again, according to the media, there's been over $1.3 million that's been spent on severance at City Hall, just saying goodbye to certain employees. So trying to boost the culture at City Hall, reduce staff attrition. Not only will that create a more productive workplace and productive city, but it's going to ensure that Cambridge is that place, that city on the map for Ontario, where if you're a professional, you want to build a great city, Cambridge is on the map, you want to go there and work and build your life, raise your family there.
You would have some insight into this as somebody who has spent time on the Horseshoe as the Ward 7 councillor, Scott. So when it comes to those capital projects that you reference, what are you willing to sacrifice, or what choices are you planning to make when it comes to that budget and those capital costs?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? There are a few things I think we can look back on in previous budgets. This was a great example. This recent budget was a good example of where council actually collaborated and recognized that there were several projects that were being put through the budget that we didn't understand. We weren't sure what their purpose was, what their cost was, what the operating costs would be, the effect they'd have on the city. So we pulled back on quite a few. The kind of concert or festival venue grounds in my ward, in Ward 7, being one of those. So one, being more transparent with what is coming to the budget and what exactly citizens are going to be paying for. I think that'll be better for council and the city alike to know, okay, do we really need this? If not, cut it. And if we do, why? What is the ultimate return on that investment for the city as a whole? And I think we can look back in previous budgets, Mike, and find some things that have maybe been placed in that now have ballooned. We have to ask whether or not those are necessary. So, for example, when this term first started, the Riverside Dam in Preston, I think that was on our budget for about a $400,000 repair. And all of a sudden, that went through the budget and ballooned up to, at that point, a $19.7 million reconstruction. And that was done in the budget process. It didn't actually come to council for debate to talk about the nuances of this potential new expenditure. And that 19.7 today, I think, has ballooned up to about 26 million. So it's projects like that we have to stop and look at to say, do we really need to spend 19 million or 26.3 million on a project that wasn't discussed thoroughly with this council, that the residents of our city may not appreciate or want? So it's those capital projects I think we can trim while boosting that culture at City Hall, and ensuring that if we align our responsibilities and our priorities with trends in economic development, we won't have to go to the Ontario Land Tribunal as much, and we'll save some dollars there as well.
One of the largest infrastructure projects and most expensive that this region has ever seen is light rail transit, Phase 1 in Kitchener and Waterloo. But as a regional project, there are efforts, Scott, of course, to get a Phase 2 into Cambridge. How would you shepherd that project into the city of Cambridge?
Well, I am a fan of the ION, Mike, of light rail transit, and simply because I worked in Waterloo for many years. I drove from Cambridge all the way up to Waterloo. Again, there's no train to take me there. And working up on King Street in Waterloo, I would talk to the local shop owners. I would talk to residents. I could see the LRT outside of my office window. Pull up, students would get off and on, older adults would get off and on, families. The ecosystem of excitement and of place that the LRT created in Waterloo was substantial. And those shop owners that said, I hated this thing when it first came in. It was messy. I thought it was going to be expensive. It was annoying to deal with. The road was chopped up. they flipped and said, this has now been a tremendous benefit. It was worth the investment. So the first is making it clear to Cambridge residents, what is the return on this investment that you'll get? The important thing, Mike, is that it's not just a train. I think people think, well, why, or a lot of residents do think, why do we just want a train, right? Like, let's move on. How about a bus? How about more cars? True, it does help get people from point A to B. It's environmentally friendly. It's a great low-cost option for persons that might not have as much income or transportation or cars as others. But it is an unparalleled economic development machine, and I think you've discussed this on your show. The LRT down Hespeler Road alone, I mean, the return on that investment, according to the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, is something in the range of $7 to $10 billion. And we actually have the Hespeler secondary plan, Hespeler Road secondary plan, coming to council tonight, and the LRT is a major factor in that. But it costs money, right? So you have to, again, take that collaborative approach with other levels of government to really show how it's a mutual benefit to build the LRT, to get the funding from the province, the funding from the feds to implement it. It will take time and it will be messy, but the period of time it takes to build that LRT, the tremendous benefit it will have to not only Cambridge, but the entire region of Waterloo for decades after, it's just incredible. And it's not a fantasy because we can go up to Kitchener and look. We can go up to Waterloo and look and see the change that's made. And when those come to Cambridge, Mike, which I'm confident they can, if we all band together and work as a team, the benefits will be 3 to 4-fold what we see north of us to our municipal neighbors.
The relationship between the city of Cambridge and the region of Waterloo has not always been harmonious, I think would be fair to say. Where do you see the city of Cambridge fitting into this region as a whole?
I see it as a collaborative partner. I think what we need is a leader that is calm, diplomatic, has critical thinking as to how Cambridge can integrate itself deeper into the region, and is also creative. This is a partnership, right? And whether it's a partnership with members of your family, whether it's your marriage, you're going to have agreements and you're going to have disagreements. But ultimately, you need to establish that shared goal that you're all working towards. And you need to look at what every partner brings to the table, right? Everyone is unique. And so with Cambridge, we've already discussed our rivers. The 401 cuts through us. We do have capacity in terms of developing, I think, large swaths of our, you could say, the exterior of the city for larger businesses, be it factories. Some are talking about increasing the number of data centers, right? We've got aerospace, we've got nuclear. I think really promoting to our partners in the region that we are at the table, we're reading the same menu, we're sharing the same goals, and that we're willing to engage all levels of government to ensure that the region as a whole functions. Because as we're seeing, Mike, there's some global uncertainty right now. It's not just regionally, not just provincially, it's nationally, it's globally. So if Waterloo region is stronger together, that's going to lift up every single resident, right? And we're almost at 1 million. So Cambridge can be an integral partner in ensuring that every single resident of Waterloo region has a prosperous, safe, healthy life moving forward. But we have to be willing to go to that table with our partners, engage with them diplomatically, be strong but be fair, and try to come up with that goal and solution that we can all work with Kitchener, Waterloo, and the townships.
You mentioned earlier, Scott, that your vision includes a Cambridge that is safe for children and families. What does a safe community look like to you?
That's a big question, right? I do have 2 young children, right? And so I envision them when they are in Cambridge. Obviously, the streets are safe, right? There's parks for them to play in. There's paths for them to bike on. There's ample amenities within walking distance. If we go to the downtown cores of our cities, that they are free of crime, of poverty. And one of the ways I think we can accomplish that, Mike, is by truly listening to a lot of our partners in the city that are trying to tell us, if you want to make Cambridge safe, here's a way to do it. There's no question that we're seeing those rates rise of homelessness, of housing insecurity, of food insecurity, drug use. And we have so many social services and charities in all of Waterloo region that have a lot of great ideas and a lot of great advice because they work out in the field every single day to make our city safe. So listening to them, bringing them to the table, and that's the first thing I would do as mayor, is actually create some type of a panel or an ongoing roundtable with these local leaders that are working out in the field every day, making our city safer. Bring them to the table. We should be listening to them. We should be talking to them and engaging them more. And that's the same with the police, the fire as well. I know the city does that ongoingly. But it's going to be an ongoing conversation with our partners, and we have to be willing to be flexible because we see these dynamics changing so rapidly around us, whether it's the nature of crime, whether it's the digitization, right, of these scams we're seeing, or whether it's different types of drugs coming into the country. It's an all-hands-on-deck approach, but we're not going to do it alone. We need to be open, diplomatic, calm. We need to engage all of our partners and all the residents that work in our city to keep our city safer.
Scott, I really appreciate the time on the show this morning, as always. Best of luck in the campaign, and thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Mike, and I look forward to hearing from Cambridge residents about how I can help build a city that works for them. Appreciate the time.
You bet. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too, Mike. Cheers.
Scott Hamilton, Ward 7 councillor in the city of Cambridge, would like to be mayor. First out of the gates to file his nomination papers in that regard on Friday morning when the campaign period essentially opened. I have not yet heard officially from Jan Liggett. I suspect she will run to seek a second term, but there will be competition in the city of Cambridge. Thoughts on what you just heard? Thoughts on what you would like to see raised as issues in this municipal election? We are always all ears here on the program. It's the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Projects are adding up, and every single time you build something in the city, it costs money to build and then money to maintain, and those are called operating costs. So doing a full review, what are those projects on the docket that maybe aren't as relevant these days? Or what are the newer projects that might actually be more beneficial at less cost? That's a great way to lower a lot of costs, and it wouldn't take much staff capacity or time.
Scott Hamilton is the Ward 7 councillor in Cambridge who has announced his intentions to run for mayor. Also running for mayor is Brian Kennedy in Cambridge, who's the head of business improvement areas, has been the head of several different business improvement areas over the last number of years. And as of yesterday, Mayor Jan Liggett, the incumbent, has also filed her papers. So it's a three-way race right now in the city of Cambridge. A couple of candidates have already emerged in the city of Kitchener as well. They would include David Alton and Wasma Frog. Mayor Barry Verbanovic has not yet announced his intentions. Dorothy McCabe has filed her papers in Waterloo to return for a second term. We also know that in Wilmot Township, Mayor Natasha Salonen is registered to run for a second term against incumbent councillor Chris Wilkinson and former Green Party MP candidate Stephanie Gertz. In Woolwich, Mayor Sandy Shantz has announced she will not be seeking re-election, but Councillor Eric Schwint, who has represented Ward 2 on Woolwich Council, has filed his papers to become mayor of the township. Some of what we know so far with the municipal election coming up in October. George from Cambridge is on the phone with us this morning. Good morning, George.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Over the last few years, I've gotten to know Scott Hamilton, also known as Captain Canuck. He's a great guy. He's intuitive. He's smart. We're going to have our own saying in Cambridge. Great Scott. If you see his name on the ballot, vote for Scott Hamilton.
All right, George, there's a ringing endorsement for the current councillor who is seeking the mayor's chair in the city of Cambridge. It promises to be an interesting race indeed. Scott is nothing if not well known because he has been very visible in the community even prior to his election to council, having run in, I believe it was a federal election before. It could have been provincial, but I'm pretty sure it was federal for the NDP. So we shall see how it all plays out. And again, we will keep you up to date with these things on this show as we approach the October 26th municipal election. I know it seems a far way off, but it's going to be here before we know it. And we want to give you the best opportunity to make the most informed choice on October the 26th. All right, time to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then it's not just your everyday Kitchener Rangers jersey. There is meaning behind this one, and you'll find out more about that meaning coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I am so happy to have this next guest in studio with me. He's an old friend, not old age-wise, just an old buddy. That's all. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Ken Cameron, the last time you and I met in real life, we were in Ottawa where the Kitchener Rangers were playing and we enjoyed a post-game beverage together.
That's right. We were both on a road trip.
We were indeed.
It was a lot of fun. We had done it the year before. And I don't think the Rangers won any of the games, or maybe got one game. And then we thought we'd run it back. And the weather a year ago was horrific.
It was so bad last year.
So we thought, well, it can't be worse. So we went back, and the Rangers got 2 wins and an overtime loss. So that was a really great 3 or 4 day road trip.
It really was. And the weather was much more conducive this year. Yeah, it really was. So Ken and I were chatting during that update with Christine about the Kitchener Rangers generally. And I'll remind you, tickets just went on sale for games 1 and 2 of the OHL final. I still can't believe I'm saying that. And we, the Kitchener Rangers, get to have home ice. So we're at the Memorial Auditorium tomorrow, the Memorial Auditorium on Friday, as the Kitchener Rangers will take on the Barrie Colts. I talk about the Kitchener Rangers because, in case you can't tell, somebody that's taking a road trip to watch them is a Rangers fan. But more to the point, Ken comes here in studio this morning wearing, I'll say, not your everyday Kitchener Rangers jersey. It looks like every other Rangers jersey, but it's got the numbers 988 on it. Tell me the story behind this jersey.
Well, in early 2020, myself, my family, we lost our son to suicide. He was 26 years old. He was also a Kitchener Junior Ranger growing up, played AAA hockey all the way from age 7 to 16. He was a goaltender, and he actually once got to practice with the Rangers. They called him up. They were short a goalie or someone was hurt. They called him up, and he got to practice when Steve Spott was the coach. So that was a big highlight for him. Anyway, we lost him just over 6 years ago to suicide, and once I've sort of got my feet back underneath myself from the tragic loss, I've been sort of focused on trying to find ways to shine a light on suicide, and it needs to be done. So I had this idea about the 988 Suicide Crisis Hotline, and I thought, well, what if I got a jersey put together with 988 on it? And so I sent an email to Mike McKenzie in the Ranger office, and within a day he wrote back and he said, come on in, we'll sit down and talk. So he had me in July, and we sat down and I told him the story of James and what had happened. And he said, he looked at me and he said, Ken, he says, this is the least we can do for you. Like, my family has had season's tickets there for like well over 25 years, and James being a Kitchener Junior Ranger. And he said, look, he says, I'll get on it. I'll get back to you. And I just let it go because they were busy getting ready to start the season. They were focused on their Memorial Cup bid. There was a lot of stuff going on and nothing was happening. And I thought, okay, well, either it's got sort of pushed aside or whatever. But in middle of January, I got a message from him saying, he says, the jersey's ready. He says, do you and your family want to come in and receive the jersey? So all 4 of us went in, my wife, Chris, my daughters, Brittany and Jennifer, we went in, and there was Joe Birch and Mike McKenzie, and in their offices on one of the tables, they had this jersey laid out, and I stepped towards it, and I just stopped and looked at it, and I got this lump in my throat. And it's like, I imagined it. This is how I wanted it to look. I sketched it out. I gave it to them. They put it together beautifully. It is an extra large jersey. Which because
you got a lot on the back.
They had to put so much on it, right? Because it says, need to talk is where the name bar would be, and then the number's 988, and then underneath it says call 24/7. So I told them, I said, you create the jersey, and I'll wear it just about everywhere. Road trips, home games. I've worn it to Titans basketball games. I'll wear it to parades. I'll just because I'm looking to start conversations. I'm inviting people to come up and say, hey, what's that all about? And it's working. One or two every game. Someone will come up and they'll either say, great message, love the jersey, or they'll say, what's this 988 thing about, right?
It wasn't too long ago that it was the Talk Today game at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, which is the OHL's program encouraging the players to engage in these conversations. And the Canadian Mental Health Association is a partner in that. And our friend from the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington, Helen Fishburne, does a regular segment on this show, and she said, I met the most wonderful gentleman at the game. He's got 988 on his Rangers jersey. I said, oh, that would be my friend Ken Cameron. So getting noticed is absolutely happening here.
Right. Yeah. I'm sort of impatient about it because, I don't know that the message is getting out as fast as I want it to. But then I took a step back and I did a little research on this that hard to believe, but it was 1972 that Canada adopted 911, like 54 years ago. And now everybody knows 911, if it's a fire or a car accident or whatever it is, call 911, right? 988 was only created 2.5 years ago. So for me, I'm thinking everybody should know this number, and not many do. Just case in point, I spent the latter part of the fall and into the winter working with a group out of Cambridge called the Coping Center, who have a contract with the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League to go out and visit 24 hockey teams. These are kids that are right below Kitchener Ranger status. Some of them are actually drafted into the OHL and just playing there. And these are boys that are 16 to 20 years old. I had the chance to visit with 6 teams to present a seminar on mental health and suicide awareness. So when it got time in the presentation to talk about suicide awareness, I just stopped and I just looked at them and I said, who in the room here knows the number to call if you are in a suicide crisis? So 6 teams, we're talking roughly 120 boys between 16 and 20 years old. Only one out of all the presentations I made knew that the number was 988. And I thought, this is not right. Like, this is the most at-risk group in our population. Young men, 16 to 24 years old, are the most at-risk group for committing suicide. And these hockey players who are under incredible stress, trying to stay on the team, trying to probably work a part-time job, relationships, schools, everything, they don't know the number. So we handed each of them a business card with the number written right on it. And I said, look, keep this in your wallet, keep it in the visor of your car, keep it wherever you need to keep it, but hang on to it, and hopefully you'll never need it. But if you do, call. So
the Talk Today program in the OHL was begun because of a young player with the Saginaw Spirit who died by suicide. And it wasn't that long ago, there was another player in the league with the London Knights. Now, the family has kept that one very close to the vest and didn't want to talk about suicide. And I just bring that up to, offer my praise to you, Ken, for being so willing to engage in these conversations. And I'm thinking on that meeting, back in July with Rangers general manager Mike McKenzie, and you're right, a Memorial Cup bid the Rangers were in the midst of preparing. There was a big renovation going on, et cetera. But several months later, perhaps by that point, unexpectedly to you, hey, we've got this jersey ready, come on and take a look at it. What does that mean to you that this organization went to these lengths to support your effort?
Well, they're good people there. They heard me. They could probably feel my pain. They know what's going on in the society. Thankfully, I don't believe the Rangers have ever lost a player to suicide, but I remember the London Knights incident, which was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And they know what the community means to them, and they know what they mean to the community, and they are all in, right? And they had 100 things to do, right? And I just threw this onto their plate. You're right about the renovation. I actually had to sit with them inside the arena, Section 3 or something, because the pro shop, the gift shop, was being used as their offices because they were tearing it all apart. But he took the time and he listened to me, and I've seen him a few times around. He's seen me. He ran into me. I think it was in Peterborough. He was there with his kids, and I'm wandering around with the jersey. And I said, "Look," I said, "we had a deal. You make the jersey, I'll wear it everywhere, and I wear it proudly." As I said, I'm inviting questions. I'm inviting conversations. I'm just trying to sort of spread the word a little faster than the 54 years it took for 911 to become sort of a household number, right? I've often, as you would know, there are days that are worse than others where you just have trouble with even your own mental health. And I've thought about the people who are operating the 988 suicide crisis hotline. I thought, how do they do it? The responsibility that they have to answer the phone for someone who's got the nerve to pick up the phone and call. And a couple of times, not that I was in a crisis, but I was in a really low spot. And I thought, I'm just going to call them. I haven't yet. But I thought, I'm just going to call them and just say, look, if another call comes in, cut me off, whatever, just say goodbye. But, I just wanted to call them and just say thank you for what you're doing there. And that hopefully you're going to be able to save somebody. And, I'm not delusional about, trying to save the world from this epidemic of suicide, but I figure, I can make it sort of my life's mission now. If I can save one or two people, and I've become a bit of a lightning rod amongst some people sort of through social media, because I've had about, in the last couple of years, at least 3 people reach out to me and say, look, I'm in a bad place. Can we get together for coffee and talk? And I'll meet with anybody, anywhere, anytime. My biggest fear is I'm not a trained professional, right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not sure what's the right thing or the wrong thing to say. But if they're asking for help and they want to talk to somebody and they don't know who to talk to and they want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. And I'll just try and pick my words carefully, right?
988 is the number that Ken and I want to impress upon you. That is the 24/7 crisis hotline. If you are in some kind of mental distress, 988 is the number. What message would you like to most deliver to anyone hearing this conversation today?
There's a lot of cliches that surround suicide, right? That the world is a better place with you than without you, that, if you go, you're going to be sort of eliminating your own pain, but you're going to be dumping pain on everybody else. That's all true, right? But from the day that James died, I've been very open and out front about saying he died by suicide. I really didn't know what to say. Like, I wasn't going to say, well, it was, died accidentally at home, suddenly, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, in no way, shape, or fashion am I embarrassed about what happened. I feel sorry for him that he was in that position, that he didn't know who to turn to. Unfortunately, he died 6 years ago before there was a 988 hotline. I'd like to think that if there was one at that time, that maybe he would have called and maybe they could have talked him into staying. But, the bottom line is that, you need to choose to stay. You need to find a way to get through the day, get to tomorrow, reach out to whoever you can. But if you don't have anybody close to you that you can talk to, call these fine people at 988 and listen to what they have to say, because I'm sure they've got some really great reasons why you should stick around.
You used the word epidemic a moment ago. You were one of the first people to reach out to me when I joined this most unenviable club, as it was called, and so many other people used that same language. Like you, I'm not embarrassed by it, and I won't shy away from saying that I lost a child to suicide. And it's so interesting that we're having this conversation today, because when I opened my Outlook this morning and I saw the date, I caught my breath. Tomorrow will be two years for us.
Sorry.
So, no, it's okay. I mean, here we are. I admire people like you doing the work that you continue to do, and we're going to drill that 988 phone number home for sure.
Yeah, and if you see me wandering around town wearing the jersey, if it's not a Ranger game, you're thinking, what's with this lunatic? It's August, it's 30 degrees, he's wearing that crazy jersey, right? I'm going to wear the jersey till I wear it out, and then we'll see who's running the Rangers, and I'll say, hey, look at this jersey, I need an upgrade.
It needs to be replaced.
Right? What else can I do with the love and the frustration that I feel, and just try and give back to people and try and save somebody?
It's impressive. And it's a testament to the community-based nature of this hockey organization, this team that we cheer for so passionately. You'll be there tomorrow night, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's my grandson Sawyer's 6th birthday tomorrow, so he's likely going to be up on the screen, but he's going to be there with me. And we've got this little kind of routine that when the Rangers score and the music's pumping, that we just start rocking back and forth, kind of hip-checking each other in our seats. So he can't wait for them to score. So score they will.
Absolutely.
I believe. Go Rangers, go.
Indeed they will. And watch for number 988 at the Memorial Auditorium tomorrow and the next game and the next game after that. And say hi to Ken. Tell him you heard him on the show and, have a little conversation. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
Ken Cameron joins us. 988, the crisis hotline that you can call around the clock if you're in mental distress. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm sorry, but the time just blurs on me these days. Was it last week? The week before? Forgive me. But I hope you recall the very recent conversation we had with our friends at Food for Kids, Waterloo Region, who are in the midst of their annual peanut butter campaign. They are collecting jars of peanut butter until the end of next month, aiming to raise 5,000 of those jars for food insecure children. The end of next month, the timing for it, because that's when schools will let out for the summer, and Food for Kids tries to fill those gaps for food insecure families when they can't get the nutrition they need through the school, weekends, holiday periods, and summer break. Of course, that's where Food for Kids steps in. 5,000 jars is a pretty noble goal, but thanks to an old friend of mine, he's a young man, but somebody I've known for a very long time in this community, Food for Kids is a lot closer to its peanut butter fundraising goal.
Not everyone's a jackwagon. Not every heart is cold. Not every promise made to you is gonna turn to gold and fold. Some people mean it when they say they care. Some folks will show up, actually be there. So don't close the door on every soul you meet. Not everyone's a jackwagon on this street.
And Caleb Nieva certainly qualifies as one of those young men who is not a jackwagon. Caleb has Down syndrome. I've known him since he was a wee lad. We used to hang out together, shoot baskets. Now, at the young age of 20, he decided what he wanted to do because he has volunteered with Food for Kids before, trying to help out in his community. And last month, he set out to collect 200 jars of peanut butter to support in that Food for Kids Waterloo Region peanut butter campaign that I mentioned a moment ago. Well, Caleb didn't just collect 200 jars of peanut butter. He has now collected about 500 jars of peanut butter to support Food for Kids Waterloo Region. And that's not all. We've told you this before on our daily segment, Not Everyone is a Jackwagon, that kindness like this has a way of spreading. And a group of former elementary school teachers of Caleb's were so impressed with what he's doing that they raised $1,000 to help Food for Kids Waterloo Region, which the Nieva family then matched. So we're talking we're talking $2,000 in donations, financial donations to Food for Kids Waterloo Region. And the peanut butter campaign for 200 jars has reached 500 jars, all thanks to Caleb's efforts, because he knows there are other people in his community in need. So he goes from volunteer to peanut butter jar collector. 500 jars of peanut butter to support that quest to get 5,000 jars of peanut butter by the end of June, and $2,000 to boot. 20-year-old Caleb Nieva, who has Down syndrome and is an absolute force for good in this community, reminding us today that not everyone is a jackwagon. We're going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then the annual Walk to End ALS is fast approaching. What if you just months ago received your diagnosis that you had ALS. You'll hear that story coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. This is not the first time you will hear us on the show talking about an upcoming charitable walk. But of course, behind every one of those charitable efforts is a story. In fact, many stories. But these sorts of fundraising events happen so that we can raise the money necessary to support people who are dealing with the illness or disease or whatever it happens to be that we are fundraising for. And the upcoming Walk to End ALS in our region, which is 1 month from tomorrow on June the 6th, is, of course, no exception. Joining us to talk more about it is Sheila Dorsch, who's a community lead with the ALS Society of Canada. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, thanks very much for making the time. And along with Sheila this morning, we have Todd Kirk with us. Todd is a Cambridge resident who was recently himself diagnosed with ALS. Todd, good morning, and thanks for making time.
No problem, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
It's a real pleasure. And if I could start there, I mean, we're only a few months removed, I guess, Todd. Back in October, you got this diagnosis. As a 48-year-old man, when you hear those words and you get that diagnosis, what's that like?
It's very devastating, first off, when you first hear that. And then you just kind of go through those, I don't know if it's stages of grief, I guess you might call it. But
sure.
It definitely impacts every part of my life as I knew it, right? As simple as things as moving around and chasing after my 2 young kids has become that challenge, right? And it also really affects my independence, which that required a lot of adjustments physically and emotionally, obviously, as you might think. And sometimes it really highlights that importance of that support system, which I do have a fantastic support system in my wife and family. So it keeps me focused on what I can still do and what I can still enjoy.
Can you kind of walk us through, Todd, what a day in the life is like now compared to perhaps prior to the diagnosis?
Yeah, I wear 2 leg braces currently. I just got a second one as it keeps my foot level so I don't trip. So a lot of the time before my diagnosis, I was tripping and I wasn't walking as right. So I got myself checked out. But now it's not walking down the stairs carrying my 2-year-old, holding her hand going down the stairs. And maybe some days I get really tired because it uses a lot of energy to kind of walk with 2 braces on. And I don't drive anymore. I still can drive if I have to. And really running and enjoying that, running after my kids because they are spry young kids and like to run around a lot. But I just focus on them and my support systems. And my biggest thing is I don't let those hard days win.
That's a really positive attitude to maintain.
It's hard, but it's what I've got, right? And I'm not going to curl up and forget about what I've got, right? Some days I want to forget about it, but, most days I know it's here. And I'm dealing with it and doing all I can to support to end this crippling disease, really.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Very impressive. Can you share with us, Todd, how ALS Canada has been able to support you since this diagnosis, and of course your family as well?
Well, big time with Sheila. Definitely that first home visit of after my diagnosis, and just hearing the stories of people living with it, other people living with it. I'm not the only person, of course, but it's helped me on just giving me any sort of resources I can possibly think of. It helps my support system, like my brother and my mom and my wife, get through it as well through other supports, which is very, very important to me to have them be supported as well as me being supported. So it's without the ALS Society of Canada, I don't know where I would be. I'd probably, as I said earlier, curled up in a ball somewhere. And that's not who I am, and that's not who I'm going to be. And I'm just going to live life and be out there and enjoy it.
Sheila, if I can turn things into your direction here. I mean, I suspect that stories the likes of which Todd is sharing with us today are not all that unfamiliar to you and the folks at the ALS Society of Canada.
Not at all. And I think stories like Todd's and the way families and friends come together are what these walks are really about. We can talk about sort of the logistics of where the walk is and where our funds go, but Todd really isn't just our official ribbon cutter that he has also stepped into the role of, but he is a dad and a husband, and his courage reminds us why raising this awareness matters. And that zoom out approach that Todd has shared even just today, that every family facing amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or ALS, it counts. And all of you can join at walk2endals.ca. And I had also made a little note, Todd, that don't let the hard days win. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I think this is sort of a common mantra that I'm so humbled to be part of.
walk2endals.ca. I'll remind you of that website again, but walk2endals.ca. The monies that are raised through this annual walk, Sheila, what do they help you do at the ALS Society of Canada?
Well, obviously, they're essential, and so they both support the research within national and international, and the community services for people living with ALS. And that includes, and it sort of looks like what Todd had already mentioned about our in-person visits. Sometimes that first conversation can share those resources and not make you feel so much on an island. So our equipment support, navigating through the healthcare system, our support groups, and also funding some of the most promising ALS research in Canada. Today, there's 3 disease-modifying ALS therapies that are approved in Canada for people with ALS to consider as part of their treatment and management. There's Riluzole, there's Radicava, and then there's, and it often benefits for slow degree disease progressing. But then there's also a Qalsody, it's a tofersen approved in March 2025 by Health Canada as a treatment for SOD1. It's a very specific gene, but it's very, very exciting. And then also, on top of that, there's an added impact where research donations raised through the walks are being matched up to $1 million through our partnership with Bring Canada.
You know, it's such a strange and unfortunate, I suppose, coincidence that I was at the hockey game in Brantford last night, ran into somebody I know from around the rinks. We stopped for a chat, and he told me that a mutual acquaintance of ours who used to play in the Ontario Hockey League had just been diagnosed with the same thing. He just got the ALS diagnosis. Sheila, what can, and he's a little bit older than Todd at this point, but what can you tell us, Sheila, about ALS and its onset and the various treatments that we have for it today?
Well, as mentioned, those 3 possible considerations for treatment, and that would be at one of the ALS clinics. So we do have in our area for Waterloo region, we do have Hamilton and London as one of the ALS clinics. Also Toronto, Sunnybrook. And then Ottawa, Mississauga, Kingston. So being connected with an ALS clinic first is paramount just to be able to meet that multidisciplinary team. ALS, or myotrophic lateral sclerosis, it is a progressive and it is devastating disease that damages the nerve cells. And so that is what's controlling the movement. And it's eventually going to take away a person's ability to walk, speak, and breathe. There are 2 onsets of ALS. So we have the limb onset, where people who are affected might notice a foot drop or difficulty buttoning up shirts. And then we also have the bulbar onset, which those muscles that are affecting the ability to swallow. Sometimes people will sound almost intoxicated with a bit of a slur, unnoticed by them. So it can affect really anyone. We are, as I've said before to you, Mike, we are sort of sitting ducks, where 90% of us are, there's no rhyme or reason why people are diagnosed with this disease. There's about 4,000 Canadians living with ALS at the moment. And currently in Ontario, there's over 1,400, and nearly 60 families of those are living in the Waterloo Wellington region. And that's why it's so important. It helps fund the research, but then it also makes sure people and families living with ALS have the support they need right now.
Todd, I know that you have not had the chance to. Have you attended the walk before, Todd?
No, this will be my family's first year, and I can tell you there's going to be a lot of Team Kirk out there at that
awesome.
walk.
Can we call you Kirky, like Alejandro Kirk? Like, I think that's going to fit.
I call him my uncle when I watch the Blue Jays. So, it's one of those things that when I said community, it's just like, holy. I told my brother, and my brother is out in Rockwood, and he's in a gym in Guelph, and he does marathons, but he's just got a plethora of people, and all my close-knit friends and even work friends, colleagues are like, yep, we'll be there. Our daycare providers, like, we'll be there with our dog. We're going to be there. We're going to raise money. And I think behind me at the ribbon cutting, there's probably going to be a posse of people wearing Team Kirk shirts. But I'm happy to have that, and I'm happy to have all those donations going to such a great thing. Not only that I have it, but it can help more people than just me in the long run. So all those people coming out and donating it hits me in the heart a lot. So
Team Kirk has a very nice ring to it. I like that. I like that a lot. Sheila, for those who may be inclined to support, maybe register and take part in the walk on June the 6th. I know we're going to be gathering at the University of Waterloo once again, but can you let us know how we can get behind Team Kirk and the rest of those who are dealing with ALS in our community and beyond?
For sure. So the easiest way is just to hop on to our website, walktoendals.ca, by province. So we do have 22 walks across Ontario happening in June. It is June ALS Awareness Month. And really take a look. Now that you've heard of Todd, his story that his wife has put together on his team page is just another reason to pop in and see. And all of that registration and donation can happen all in one easy spot. It's happening, and again, thank you so much, Mike, for stepping in again as our MC. But it is happening June 6th at 10:30. University of Waterloo has just has allowed us to host and graciously covered the parking fees and in the beautiful gathering in front of the Student Life Center. It's 5 kilometers. There's a fun zone for all ages. It's people like Todd, who will have his support behind him, is something that is worth checking in and supporting.
Team Kirk, we will look for that. We'll see more of that story online at walktoendals.ca. And we'll look forward to gathering on Saturday, June the 6th at the University of Waterloo to support Team Kirk and others in our community and beyond as we deal with this devastating illness. Sheila, thank you for making time for us on the show again this morning. And Todd, thanks for sharing your story. It's very impactful, and we wish you nothing but the best on your journey.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me share it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike. Thank you, Todd.
All right, we'll see you both on June the 6th, okay?
Yes.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Todd Kirk
Bye-bye
and
now.
Sheila Dorsch join us. Todd, as you heard, a Cambridge man just recently, back in October, diagnosed with ALS, and Sheila is the community lead at the ALS Society of Canada. As I said at the outset, we have a lot of conversations like this on the show, don't we? There's a charity walk coming up. There's this, that, or the other fundraising event. There's always something behind it, and Todd's story is a pretty powerful one. Right here in our community, 2 young kids, and last October, at the too young age of 48, gets this diagnosis. So that's why we get out and raise the money that we raise. I even received an email from Colleen, who writes to Mike at 570news.com. Thanks for highlighting the walk to end ALS. My cousin was signed up to do his walk virtually. Unfortunately, he passed 2 weeks ago due to a heart event that was linked to his ALS. He never complained and was the strongest and kindest person who never sought pity. He's missed beyond belief. That email from Colleen to Mike at 570news.com. It just shows that it's not isolated in any way. Colleen, thank you for sharing that story. Todd, thank you for sharing yours. Why not join us for a nice walk on Saturday morning, June the 6th, okay? I promise the weather, it's got to be better, right? walktoendals.ca is the site you can check out. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, an interesting thing happened when I was going over local municipal websites, trying to see who had registered to run in the upcoming municipal election. And you know me, I'm a guy that loves me some numbers, right? So what are the numbers behind those new letters going up on the NDCC, our North Dumfries Community Center? We'll get into that next on the Mike Farwell Show. Stay with us on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. So I've made a point of going through our local websites, the websites of our local municipalities every day to see if any other names have popped up as running in the upcoming municipal election. I want to keep on top of these things so I can save you that work and just tell you what's what. But I got an interesting pop-up when I went to the Township of Woolwich's internet site. And their site and the pop-up says the following under the headline, Sidewalk Snow Clearing Damage. The township is aware that sidewalk snow clearing this past winter may have caused localized damage where equipment cut into and removed grass and topsoil along sidewalks. If you've noticed this type of damage in front of your home or business, please report it so it can be assessed and included in spring repairs. Look, I know it's early in May and nobody wants to think about bad weather and snow clearing. But heck, the way this spring has gone, it might snow tomorrow. How the hell should I know? But here's the thing. It's been described to me on multiple occasions about this utopia that exists in the township of Woolwich when it comes to sidewalk snow clearing because the municipality, right, in this case the township, looks after it for residents. Yeah, that's great. First of all, it's never the utopia that those who claim it to be really is. They don't get there at the time that you want them there. And then, oh yeah, the damage can occur. And who's on the hook for the damage? The township. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Just a reminder, I know it's, mid-spring now, but let's avoid any future conversations about putting municipalities in charge of sidewalk snow clearing because it's a recipe for work that goes on forever and money that gets drained from your bank account forever. People can handle their own snow clearing. And if they can't, they'll find somebody who can. Anyway, and it shouldn't be the municipality, in my humble opinion. Another note in a township, this time in North Dumfries. And you can see the work being done now at the North Dumfries Community Centre in Ayr as the signs are being changed over because Ayr Farmers Mutual has bought the naming rights there for $600,000. This analysis, though, I came across this morning and I wanted to share because it hits pretty close to the heart here. It's a $600,000 naming right opportunity. So, yeah, it sounds great, right? North Dumfries Township is getting $600,000, but it's being paid over 40 years. And this particular analysis says it's a crazy deal, like crazy bad for the township. It's nothing against Ayr Farmers Mutual because they are stalwarts in the community. But the naming rights have been sold for 40 years. Thing number one, a lot can change in business over 40 years. Second of all, selling this over 40 years means it's revenue of $15,000 a year for the township, just $15,000. And it's not indexed to inflation. So inflation is going to erode that annual value. And really, it'll amount to about $4,600 in today's dollars 40 years from now. So if you factor in inflation, the $600,000 is worth less than actually half of that. And if you want a comparison, just look to the new Schlegel Park in Kitchener, where the Schlegel family paid $2.3 million over 10 years for the naming rights to the park. $2.3 million over 10 years or $600,000 over 40 years, not indexed to inflation. Those are just the numbers. We love you, Air Farmers Mutual, but Township of North Dumfries didn't get a great deal here. They weren't the best negotiators. Maybe they should have called David Schooley. I don't know. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, just like that, we have arrived at the first Tuesday of another month. And on the first Tuesday of every month between 11 and noon, we do a little something called Ask the Chief. And you can also, while you're asking the chief, ask the inspector, because we have one of each in the studio, so you can have your policing questions answered. Phone lines are open to you during this segment, of course, at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Those police leaders, the Chief, Mark Crowell of Waterloo Regional Police Services here. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mike.
And Scott Griffiths is the aforementioned inspector in the executive office of the chief. Good morning to you, Scott.
Mike, good morning.
Mark, let me start with you. CCTV cameras are in the news again this week. I think we've got yes, we got the no from Wilmot, and I think we got a yes from Waterloo, now North Dumfries. I think Cambridge and Kitchener have said okay, but where do we have to go before these cameras are actually mounted on utility poles or wherever it is they'll be mounted?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and we're close. So Waterloo, Cambridge, Kitchener, North Dumfries, they have agreed to participate in the program. So the next remaining steps are the region of Waterloo. And that's a big one. Essentially, they're an umbrella organization for a lot of the infrastructure. And it just comes down to who owns the poles, the power sources, and it's a combination of the region of Waterloo, the local municipality, and the hydro company as well. So they're complicated agreements. We're at Region of Waterloo Committee this afternoon, and within a couple of weeks, we should be before Council. We're very hopeful that will advance. There is a recommendation for that to be approved. And then we're also working with the Ministry of Transportation to allow us with the highway access that runs through the region as well. And then from there, I think we're very soon to be mounting cameras. And really, this is a new step for our community. And most of the conversations we've had is about piloting a test case, to show the efficiency, the efficacy, and then to show how this is looking to combat crime of many kinds.
What do I, as a resident, need to know about these cameras? Because I know they've got automatic license plate readers, for example. Am I going to get a retroactive ticket for running a red light or anything like that? Nothing of the sort.
So there will be no traffic enforcement. There will be no live monitoring. There'll be no bylaw enforcement. This is essentially to create a network of strategically placed cameras throughout the region, driven by data. And for the first phase, we've selected certain locations that have been tied to a citizen call response and as well as some of our crime-related data, and to give us our best effort to combat things like stolen vehicles, some of the robberies that we've seen as well. And we're really trying to create that network that will allow us to track wanted vehicles, stolen vehicles, or people that are fleeing from a scene, or for our investigators to go back after the fact and to piece together things that are possible. So what we think is a great appeal publicly about this program is there will be no secrets. People will know exactly where the cameras are mounted. We will have a website that shows the locations, shows the views, talks about the capability, and also explains all of the privacy work that we've done, the community consultation work. And where I think this differs, and it's part of an important conversation, is we're providing that accountability. Meanwhile, citizens, businesses, and other organizations are deploying cameras right now to which there's no knowledge of what cameras are active, what their purpose is, and some of those things. So we're being very upfront and deliberate with all those practices because we want people to understand it and to become part of the story of preventing and addressing crime in our region.
Those views that we will be able to see on the website, I assume they're static views. It's not like we can just go on the website and watch the cameras in real time?
No, I will be showing essentially just the camera view. So the example would be an intersection by Farwell Mall, where we've had a number of robbery incidents the past number of years, downtown Kitchener, downtown Cambridge, and that sort of thing. And some might ask the good question, well, what's the point of mounting cameras if you're going to tell people where they are? We've done our research, and we know that this is to try to mobilize our community with an awareness of we're trying to create crime-free zones. Is to say, these are areas of opportunity where crime has occurred, and we're very mindful of displacing crime when we have an action. There's sometimes a reaction, but we're very hopeful that people will start to understand that there's an infrastructure of support to investigate and hopefully prevent crime.
That's the piece I'm really curious about, the prevention piece. Certainly we can see this as an investigative tool, and you talked a moment ago about the number of cameras that are out there that we don't even know about at businesses wherever they happen to be. In my mind, I always wonder how anybody gets away with anything given the number of cameras that exist. But is there research to demonstrate, Mark, that these cameras eventually actually suppress or prevent crime?
I think from an academic perspective, there's lots of vantage points that you could take on this. I think there's still work to be done around the world to make that case. You can learn from areas like the UK where they've had cameras for decades to show that they have been able to the solvency creates confidence on the ability for police to investigate after the fact. We also see this as complementary to programs that we already have, where we have something called CamSafe, and we're encouraging businesses and residents who already are deploying cameras at their homes or within their organizations to let us know and register the awareness. So this is all about time in the system. It's all about trying to be efficient with how we do our investigations. When something occurs, we respond as quickly as possible, but the investigation of piecing together who is involved and what happened, we're going door to door, knocking, trying to get all kinds of camera footage. So when we start to piece some of these things together, it will enhance our capacity and hopefully accelerate our timelines on responding, but also the solvency piece too.
So in a perfect world, when would these cameras be active?
I would say hopefully within June, I think would be a nice time frame. We're waiting for that hopeful approval at the region of Waterloo, and that's the next big step.
Okay. Scott, let me swing it over to you because I came across a story that I quite frankly, I chuckled at a little bit, but I guess it's easier for me to chuckle because I wasn't the vehicle involved, which was pretty dangerous. But a truck in Cambridge that was towing a large piece of concrete or some such thing, and of course it loses what it was towing, and another vehicle had to evade the concrete. But maybe, given the time of year, we're going to be hooking up trailers, going to cottages, etc. Some tips around what is a safe way to haul.
Yeah, this is an exceptional case. And for those who know The Simpsons, I would say this is like a stone of shame situation where we have a party who has attached a large piece of concrete by a chain to the back of their truck and dragged it down the street. And this is obviously unsafe, dangerous, and illegal. But talking about trailers and talking about vehicles that you're going to be pulling behind you because you have recreational vehicles or boats or things like that, we need to make sure when you take those trailers or you have those attachments, when you're taking them out for spring or summer use, you want to make sure, A, that they're mechanically sound as they were when the same way that you put them into the garage the winter before. Or, we have an exceptional number of people who attend our dumps with like lawn and garden dumping items, and they just need to make sure that we have, A, that the trailer is mechanically fit, it's licensed if it's required to appropriately, that you have coverings and things for the items that you're putting in your trailer, because the opportunities for things to fly off a trailer at speed creates essentially a flying object that can strike other vehicles and cause collisions, as it almost did in this situation. We just want to make sure that everybody, when they get their spring cleaning out, when they're dusting off all their toys for the summer, that they make sure that they have everything is mechanically ready and it's all licensed up and appropriately applied.
aside from maybe an educational opportunity like this one, Scott, where we can talk about it, remind folks, how do you patrol this? Are there blitzes that happen? Are officers on patrol always on the lookout, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So we do annual commercial vehicle training with our frontline patrol officers, as well as the officers in traffic service unit are trained to an MTO standard for inspections and are able to do full MTO inspections on commercial vehicles. But they're also looking at vehicles like trailers and attachments. So that's always a part of the education for our officers, is to say, listen, this time of year, we're going to have dozens of vehicles on the weekends pulling small utility trailers, carrying brush or carrying items that they've cleaned out of their house or their garages or their sheds. We need to make sure that when those vehicles are traveling down the roadway, that they're not a hazard to those around them, and that they're operating properly and attached properly. So there's features that officers look for, like two means of attachment, to make sure that brakes are not seized, so you don't have tires dragging along the ground, that you have proper covering on your trailers so that the objects are not loose and coming loose. So they have the abilities to do those traffic stops, to make those inspections, and remind people that if you are going to do these things, you need to make sure that it's safe before you put that on the road.
Inspector Scott Griffiths, Chief Mark Crowell in studio with us. Ask the Chief, where you get the opportunity to have your policing questions answered by our police leaders. Phone lines open to you on the Mike Farwell Show. This is Ask the Chief on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Those days are over. You don't have to sell your body to the night. Roxanne.
First Tuesday of every month for a full hour here on the show between 11 and noon. We're joined by Regional Police Chief Mark Crowell and Inspector Scott Griffiths, who is now in the executive office, but lots of experience as the head of our traffic services unit. They join us in studio so you can have your policing questions answered. Phone lines are always open at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We'll go to the phones now. Brad is with us. Good morning, Brad.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. I have a question for Mark.
Go ahead, Brad. Thanks.
I live what I consider to be a quiet neighborhood in Waterloo near Conestoga Mall beside the expressway. And most days, or especially in the afternoons, when I step outside, all I hear is sirens blaring. So my question is, what is going on with that? Why do I hear this day after day, and it's constant? Thank you for answering.
Thanks, Brad. So not knowing precisely where you're located, it could be a combination of police, fire, and paramedics responding to a variety of circumstances. Typically, we don't deploy the sirens and emergency lights to be activated unless there's some urgency to respond. So you may be in an area that's very well traveled, just in terms of the expressway. Even sound could be carrying if there's a need for OPP to be in your jurisdiction as well. So I can't pinpoint precisely what's going on, but there is a requirement when we are responding to a priority call for service that we are activating our sirens. If you're well versed with the different sounds, you can often distinguish between police, fire, paramedic sirens as well, and that may give you a sense of what's happening. But unfortunately, if this is an inconvenience for you and you're finding it distressing and disrupting, then you have our apologies for the sound. But I can say that those who are responding to emergencies are doing so in accordance with their training and legislation, and that's to create the safe pathway to response.
All right. Brad, thanks for the call. That's how it works on this segment. You got a question about policing in our community, you can have it answered. I wanted to ask one, Mark, question that is around Hespeler Road in Cambridge, where there was recent news from regional police about a targeted retail crime investigation that led to numerous charges. But what was behind this, and why did that Hespeler Road corridor become the area of focus?
So as we refine our crime suppression efforts, we've certainly uncovered a capacity to need to address organized retail crime. So between February and March, our officers from South Division, we have a team called the Direct Action Response Team, the DART team, and they were doing a focused retail crime operation working with businesses that are frequently targeted. They can be, places where there's hardware, grocery stores, pharmacies, that sort of thing, where there's a high value in commodities and they're frequently targeted. And so over the course of those 2 months, we had 37 individual retail theft investigations that led to about 75 charges to be laid. And we learned a lot. We could see that our focused and targeted operations, about half of them involved repeat offenders. So of those 35 investigations, and also there was some connections to organized retail crime. What we've seen over the past couple of years is what we would call crime tourism. People coming from outside, sometimes the country, and certainly outside of the province and into our community with a specific purpose of conducting organized retail crime. And those are difficult to investigate and to solve when people are here for a short period. They're conducting their criminal activity and then leaving. So that requires us to be intelligence-led and focused and evidence-based in our strategies. And we're often working not only with retailers and loss prevention, but also our policing partners across the province of Ontario to identify people. And there are some specific localized offenders, but often we're looking at organized people right across the province.
When you encounter, you mentioned repeat offenders like that, Mark, I don't suppose there's any time spent on follow-up to see what becomes of them once they enter the system?
There certainly is. So that's part of our dedicated approach, which is we've identified, a high number of what we call prolific offenders, people who are habitually, in the churn of offending, could be any number of behaviors. And we're really trying to hold them accountable with their conditions of release, their conditions of upcoming, if they have outstanding matters before the courts. So if they are active in the public and they are responsible for certain conditions of curfew or to be at certain address or to avoid certain locations, that's part of our proactive work, is to really ensure that our teams are, they know who's who and who's doing what. And we're making them aware that we're trying to monitor, to reduce, and to prevent as much, criminal activity as possible. Yeah.
Scott, we were talking earlier about the changing of the seasons and maybe getting those toys out and hauling boats or putting trailers back on our vehicles, etc. It's also going to mean motorcycles like you and I enjoy, or those scooters that we have, the Neuron mobility scooters as an example. We had a collision a couple of weeks ago, mid-April-ish, between a vehicle and an e-scooter. I just thought it might be kind of instructional as well to go over those, whatever Highway Traffic Act rules and regulations govern the operation of those scooters, if any.
So there's regulations under the Highway Traffic Act as well as a regional bylaw. So the Highway Traffic Act permits operation of those vehicles, provided that the region says that they can be, and they are in this region and endorsed with our Neuron program, as well as you can buy those for personal use. There are obviously restrictions that come with those. There's a minimum age, 16 years old in this region, to operate one of those. We're talking about the e-kick scooters, the ones that look like little foot pedal scooters with a stick and a handlebars. They have limits on their available speed. They have limits on the size of their motor. They need to have a bell and a horn. They must have some kind of lighting when you're at night, as well as requirements to wear helmets. And really, some of the bigger concerns are where they're allowed to be operated. So they're really treated a lot like bicycles, where you have to use the bicycle lanes on roadways or multi-use pathways that permit them. You're not supposed to use them on the sidewalks unless it's specifically required or permitted by signage. And you can't take it on a roadway with a speed limit over 50 kilometers per hour, which we've obviously seen some internet videos of vehicles going ridiculous speeds down other highways in this region. So obviously the opportunity is there for those things to be modified, for those things to be abused. But ultimately what we're hoping to find is that everybody who uses these for a specific purpose, and a lot of people do use them as their mode of transportation, is doing so safely, wearing the proper safety equipment, and obviously abiding by the rules of the road.
I kind of feel like we're stuck in this sort of thing, Scott, because what you just said, I think, if they're used for their intended purpose, these things are wonderful. Mm-hmm. It's the modifications that happen and the abuse of them. I'm sure the mods and the abuses are fewer than those who are using them responsibly. But is there any conversation happening amongst, policing or municipalities around some sort of control over this so that we don't kind of have the wild, wild west out there with essential vehicles for which you require no license, no insurance, no anything?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because we have, we obviously have restrictions that are codified in law, but we have people who are able to, with the ease of the internet, able to search out how to modify these things, or there are stores and places that do. I'm reasonably assured that there are places that will do these for money, and that's unfortunate. The best we can do is try to do our best to educate people who are using these things, because as you said, we have people who use these to get to and from work, and they're using them responsibly and using the proper safety equipment. We have people who use them occasionally who may or may not be aware of the rules and regulations surrounding a lot of the operations, such as where you can operate it. So our job in that situation is, if we're seeing somebody riding on the sidewalk, we're going to stop them and educate them in that regard. But if we're finding vehicles that are very obviously modified, very obviously they've made a conscious decision to alter their vehicle beyond the realm of the law, we're going to have to take enforcement action, and we can do that. Whether we, unfortunately, the source of where these things come from is usually pretty murky. So we're not really able to find those, but we're doing our best to make sure that everybody knows that this is not legal. This should not be happening.
Inspector Scott Griffiths in studio with us, along with Regional Police Chief Mark Crowell. It is your opportunity to ask the chief and have your policing questions answered on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is the first Tuesday of the month of May, this 5th of May. And on the first Tuesday of every month, we're joined in studio by our police leaders here in the region, allowing you direct access to have your policing questions answered in studio with me this morning. Waterloo Regional Police Chief Mark Crowell and Inspector Scott Griffiths. Our phone lines are open, and they're getting busier. There's still a line for you, but we'll go to the phones right now for Sandy. Good morning, Sandy.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Good, thank you. And you?
Great.
Good.
Calling not really with a question, just more of a compliment and a thank you. I just recently graduated from Waterloo Regional Police's Citizens Police Academy, and it is an incredible program, and I just wanted to give the program a shout out and thank everybody involved again. I know programs like this take a lot of work and effort to do, and it is an absolutely fabulous program for our community.
Well, thank you, Sandy. Nice to hear from you, and it was a pleasure to meet you on a couple of occasions. And I have the honor of kicking off and closing the program, and it's a great thing. We've had it for over 20 years, and Sandy was really keenly involved and interested, and it's participatory. It's not just talking heads, it's conversations, it's orientation, demonstrations, really to give our community members a sense of everything behind the scenes at WRPS and all our connected justice partners as well. So people can apply to the Citizens Police Academy online, and we run a program in the spring and the fall. So and we like to say that once people have done it, it usually creates a lot of referrals and positive connections to us. And volunteers tend to come back and then really become a part of our organization. So thank you, Sandy. Really appreciate it.
Do we get an honorary deputization at the end or anything like that? Can I make an arrest?
There's not that official designation, but jokes aside, we tell people you're now part of WRPS because you've had this experience. And then people usually refer family and friends, and the network of connections and positive support helps to mobilize many, safety-related things across our neighborhoods right across the region.
Yeah, I think it's a great program. I've heard nothing but good things from those who have been able to take part. And hey, how about somebody calling with something nice to say, praise for the police service? I'm sure you don't get a lot of that.
You know what? I often tell our own members, I said, the compliments we receive versus complaints are 10 to 1. To the surprise of many, and it's we do receive the concerns, the complaints, and the well-warranted feedback, but we do receive a lot of positive feedback, and we publish as much as we can, but we want to make sure that our members who are working hard hear that as well, because those personal connections that they make in the lives of our citizens, they matter and leaves a lasting impression.
Okay. Sandy, thanks for that call and sharing that positive news. We'll go next to John. Good morning, John.
Yeah, good morning. I hope everybody's enjoying their day.
Sure are, John.
I have a question. I was driving down the 401, and one of the cruisers, I think OPP, pulled me over, and he asked my license and everything. And then he asked me if I needed points. What does he mean by needed points? That still confuses me.
Okay, I'm just going to let that go because there's a radio in the background, but needed points is what I think I heard, Scott.
Well, I don't know exactly what he's referring to, but in Ontario, on your driver's license system, you have what's called a demerit point system. So there's for every offense in the Highway Traffic Act, there is an attributable point for driving offenses, not for equipment or registration administrative offenses, but for driving offenses. So there's a scale of those. And if it was on the 401, I'm going to maybe it was speeding. And speeding has a graduated point system. When you get a certain level, it starts at 3 points for 16 kilometers and over, and then it goes up progressively as you go faster and faster. So if he mentioned to the person that perhaps he reduced his ticket for speeding, he might have saved him some points on his license. And each driver has a certain number. There's a certain number of points that triggers a letter from the ministry. For junior drivers, for novice drivers, it's a very low threshold. But for normal drivers, fully licensed G drivers, there's a certain number, and then it triggers involvement from the ministry, and it may actually trigger suspension at certain points if you reach a certain level. And you have to complete other things in order to get your license back. Insurance companies ask about those sometimes as well. So I'm assuming that's what it's about. There is a company called Points that does traffic ticket enforcement, but I don't think they would be doing advertisement for them at the side of the road. So I'm going to assume it's the other one.
Yeah, and I started thinking along those same lines. John, you might have been getting a little bit of a break there from that officer and not as many points assessed as could otherwise have been. We'll stay with the phones. Robbie is with us this morning. Good morning, Robbie.
Good day, sir. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Brace yourselves, officers. This is Robbie, the passionate Rangers fan. I never know where this English voice is going to take us.
Well, I've never been cut off with the delay, but I'll keep it short and sweet. I only caught the end of the conversation about the closed circuit television. This accent is real. I don't put it on just for the ladies. So I grew up, I'm 58, so I grew up in Britain. And the closed circuit cameras and blah, blah. I've heard it all for the last, God knows how many decades, 4 decades probably. Oh, they're watching this. You know what? The only people that are watching are the ones that are doing stuff that's wrong. If you're stupid enough to do what's wrong in front of the cameras, then you're stupid enough to get caught. You want to do stuff you don't want to get caught, don't do it under a camera. Whether that's the right attitude or not to have, I don't know. But you know what? If you're a muppet and you get caught, then you should be aware. I think the more cameras, the better, because I can guarantee you, having grown up in Britain, it makes a hell of a difference. It really does. And I've just picked up the most important pieces of paper this season. So I'm going home to celebrate, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, Father. Go Rangers!
All right, Robbie. Those pieces of paper would be his tickets for tomorrow's game, I am sure. And if you want a spokesperson, Mark, I know you have several eminently qualified and talented people, but Robbie will call you a Muppet if you're a Muppet, and I respect that.
I have to say, in the few years I've been, coming, that may be the most entertaining call that I've been part of. So if this is a regular thing for you, Mike, congratulations. Thanks, Robbie, for your perspective and support. And, it's very valuable to hear feedback of all kinds. Thank you.
And we have heard that, and I get where Robbie is coming from on the idea or on the point of if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. But we should be clear, too, there are privacy concerns. I think they're legitimate privacy concerns. And as you outlined earlier, Mark, police are well aware of this. There is privacy legislation, and all of these boxes are being checked as we move forward with this program. It's
very important that we never want to be moving faster than the pace and acceptance of our community for any technology that we deploy. Everyone has an opinion and a level of comfort with any change in any form of innovation and technology, but we have tried to be careful and considerate and consulting with as many citizens as possible. And I think that the approach is also one of a piloting to demonstrate proof of concept. And then from there, if there's any expansion, that's done with the consent of municipalities and us as a whole community to show this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, this is how it's being used, and the accountability is there 360.
As we talked about earlier, the hope would be in a perfect world sometime in June, these cameras going active in our community. They are not recording us live. They are there for you to go back to, make reference to, in need of an investigation. How long do the images or whatever is captured by those cameras stay online?
30 days will be the time, and usually we will have the ability to, when something urgent may be happening, then can conduct a live monitoring, but that will be the exception rather than the rule. And then most often we're made aware of something that has occurred immediately, certainly within 24 hours. There are times, though, where we require several weeks to go back to piece certain things together. So that's where we're relying upon a network of evidence from different sources. So this is, again, part of the pilot and the evaluation moving forward, and that will be reconsidered on a gradual basis to say, is that the right time frame for maintaining that data? And again, that's done in accordance with all the privacy legislation and oversight.
All right. Yeah. Scott, I want to go back to something from John's call earlier about being stopped on the highway and the officer asking if he needed any points. And it occurred to me that, if you say, well, what do you mean? It could be taken, if it comes out the wrong way or it's taken as sarcasm or you didn't understand. Anyway, what I'm getting at is what's the best, I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way, but when you are pulled over or if you are pulled over, what is the best way for you to act, behave, etc., as that officer's approaching your vehicle, when you're getting your license and registration, those sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I would always say that you'll never go wrong saying anything or asking anything in a respectful, kind of calm manner, because obviously it's a very stressful situation for yourself. You probably not have that happen to you, very frequently. So you're not like old hat to it. So I understand you might be nervous. I understand you might be concerned or upset. But if you approach the officer with a sense of respect and a sense of sort of asking a question that's, sensible and doesn't imply anything, then certainly the officer should be happy to do that. I'll add one thing to that and say is that doing traffic stops on the 401 or the expressway have been some of the most harrowing things I've done in this job, like getting out on a live lane of traffic or on a traffic where you have vehicles traveling hundreds of kilometers an hour down the road towards you. It can be very troubling. So if it's a question that needs to be answered right there and then for that officer, then certainly ask your question, do it politely, and I'm sure the officer will be more than happy to answer that for you. But if it's something that as well that you can perhaps say, go home and call the division or call the detachment for the OPP if that's the case, and say, listen, I have a question about this, and you can ask that question as well. It doesn't mean that they can't answer it there. It just means that perhaps for safety reasons, that officer is kind of, it sounds like John may have gotten like a mouthful from the officer as soon as he got the ticket, kind of like, here's your thing, I saved you some points, I lowered the ticket, here's your fine, here's your options, and then the officer was back in his cruiser and on his way. I can understand the officer's perspective on that, wanting to be back in the safety of his vehicle as soon as possible. So if you can alter that and call in later or make a request later, you can certainly do that as well.
That reminds me where I think when I started driving, it was more just a recommendation or the right way to do things. But now it's law. Is it not that move over law and if there's an emergency vehicle, a tow truck on the side of that road, give them a lane? That's the law right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There is law on the books, and the fines are very severe for those who violate that. We still find situations where that's the case, though, obviously, where we have traffic stops where people are. And if people don't feel like they're able to, or they're not paying attention and don't see it until the last minute, obviously it can become a very close call for a lot of people. And that's one of the more dangerous activities when you're working the 401. I have a lot of respect for the OPP officers who are out there on a daily basis just doing that enforcement and making sure that they're there. So,
Inspector Scott Griffiths, Regional Police Chief Mark Crowell in studio with us, allowing you to have your policing questions answered. This is Ask the Chief. It happens the first Tuesday of every month from 11 until noon on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I'll send an SOS to the world. I'll send an SOS to the world. I hope that someone gets mine. I hope that someone gets mine. I hope that someone gets my message in a bottle.
It is the first Tuesday of the month, this May the 5th. And on the first Tuesday of every month from 11 until noon, we have access to our police leaders directly to you, and you can have your policing questions answered by Chief Mark Crowell and Inspector Scott Griffiths. You know the numbers, 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. I came across something in the paper not too long ago, Mark, I wanted to ask you about because I thought it was interesting. I'm not surprised by this, I guess I would say. Maybe similar to the use of CCTV cameras, but technology in policing. Drone as first responder technology. What is this?
Yeah, so we have deployed drone technology for several years, typically for our emergency response team and traffic services unit for collision reconstruction, searching of missing persons, and in the original iterations, it required basically a pilot and a large, expensive drone. And so over the past number of years, we've seen this emergence of decreasing costs and increasing capability right across the world. So what we are looking at is in the near future, I think within a year and a half, it's a new acronym for everyone, DFR, Drone as First Responder. And what it will look like is the ability to fly a drone off of a rooftop or a fixed location, where it essentially will have a docking station that it will start and stop its flight, but allow us to have an aerial view over an emergency situation or a dynamic situation, sometimes before we even arrive. And so think about the expanse. We live in one of the largest communities in all of Ontario, our rural communities. Sometimes our drive to response time is long because of the ground that we're covering. And so some examples that might include this to be very efficient have to do with a motor vehicle collision, like a major event where we have police, fire, paramedics responding to a scene. How do we respond? How many units are required as it dynamically unfolds? Think about a dynamic situation such as a break and enter or someone fleeing from a robbery or some kind of an assault where we're actually tracking somebody actively through the course of blocks or a significant distance. And then the last example would be for missing persons. So we have sometimes people who are, covering immense territory, and it could be any number of reasons why they're vulnerable in urgent weather categories and so on. So this will allow us to expand the efficiency of our operations. We're learning the best that we can from other communities that have had this for some time. And again, like every other thing we've talked about with CCTV, there's privacy issues, there's community consultation, there is public awareness and feedback. So that will unfold, I think, over the next year. But that technology is available today.
I suspect, based on that description of docking stations where they would take off from and land again, these would be strategically located around the region?
Yeah, so the current framework, just in terms of conceptual, would be off the top of our current divisions. So imagine in Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, we have headquarters as well. And I think if the program is successful, it does what we want it to do. It provides efficiency to our operations. We want to share it. We want to share this capability with our public safety partners. And then we would expand the scope of coverage. And you get into all kinds of details about the fly time, the battery power. Sometimes if it's a prolonged event, do we need to cycle, different drones to locations and so on. So we're learning what we can right now, and it should be an exciting venture. And really, we want the community to be involved and to understand as we contemplate this and then move towards rollout over time.
So when it comes to community consultation, just so we understand what these drones are flying for, what information they're gathering, et cetera.
Yeah, and we have had an obligation to report to the community when we have drones flying for investigative purposes. I mentioned traffic reconstruction or a dynamic event. And then we'll need to get into a cadence that people know exactly where to go to find the information. If they see one in the air, What's our responsibility to inform the community? Here's the time, the place, and what was happening there. I think that's an important consideration for us moving forward to upkeep with that transparency and privacy issue. Yeah.
Just before I let the two of you go today, it was a story that caught our attention over the weekend, and that was the theft of the symbolic gong at Grand River, Wren at Midtown. I'm old. It used to be KW Hospital when I was a kid. Anyway, you've been able to make a quick arrest, but we have not yet recovered the gong itself.
Yeah, so we learned about the investigation commenced for us on Monday, so just yesterday, and we have arrested a 44-year-old male and charged him with theft, but we are still looking for the gong itself. So we are asking anybody with information to contact police or Crime Stoppers, and we're hopeful that we can find that particular gong. I mean, there's an emotional connection to so many people that have been part of the Cancer Center at Wren. And if not, we know that there is a commitment to replace it. So we're hopeful for a full resolution to the investigation, but as always, we're looking for help from our community.
All right. Appreciate the insights on that and the insights that you share with us on a monthly basis here on the show. You're dismissed for another month, and we'll look forward to our next conversation. And am I going to see either of you at any Kitchener Rangers games? We're going to the OHL final starting tomorrow.
Well, we're going to follow Robbie's suit and see if we can get in there. But go Rangers. It's great for our community, and thank you for all you're doing to keep that spirit alive.
Easiest thing I have to do every day. Scott, thanks for being here as well.
All the best. Enjoy the summer.
Will do indeed. Inspector Scott Griffiths, Executive Officer in the Executive Office at Waterloo Regional Police, and Mark Crowell, our Regional Police Chief. They join us on the first Tuesday of every month between 11 and noon, getting your policing questions answered on Ask the Chief here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
And in news that will surprise absolutely nobody who has watched one single Kitchener Rangers game since Sam O'Reilly arrived in a trade with the London Knights. Sam O'Reilly has been named the OHL's most outstanding player for the 2025-26 season. That would be the Red Tilson Trophy award-winning Sam O'Reilly to you. He has been nothing short of sensational for the Kitchener Rangers since his arrival. And don't even get me started about the performance this guy has put on in these playoffs. 14 goals in 14 games so far. And by the way, not that this is at all connected to the Red Tilson Trophy as most outstanding player in the Ontario Hockey League, but consider for a moment that Sam O'Reilly is in his fourth Ontario Hockey League season, and he has never, not ever, not once, had an Ontario Hockey League season during which he did not go to the OHL Championship. How about that? In his first year, back in 2022-2023, Sam O'Reilly and the London Knights went to the OHL final, lost to Peterborough. The next 2 years, in 24 and 25, the London Knights won the OHL Championship and a Memorial Cup. And here we are now in 2026, and Sam O'Reilly is back in the OHL final with the Kitchener Rangers. And he has just moments ago, the ink has not even dried on the media release. Sam O'Reilly is the OHL's most outstanding player this season. Your Sam O'Reilly, the Red Tilson Trophy winner. Congrats to the guy they call Peanut. I'm not one of those people. I don't believe anybody of my stature can refer to anyone else as Peanut, even if they got the Peanut nickname because they're allergic to said peanuts. I can't do it. He's always going to be Sam to me. But now he is Sam, the Red Tilson Trophy winner, as the Ontario Hockey League's most outstanding player. A truly deserving honor. One more quick note out of that update from Matt Hutchison in our 570 News Center, and that is on the gong and the symbol. I mean, kudos to the symbol being offered to our Grand River Regional Cancer Center, Ren at Midtown, for folks to ring, to sound when they finish their chemo treatments. Just a real tough story, isn't it, when it comes to the connection that we all have, whether we've gone through those cancer treatments ourselves or not. But for that gong to be stolen, it kind of hits close to home for all of us. And, you know, you ask yourself, what kind of person? Well, police have made an arrest, but as Matt mentioned too, a GoFundMe has been started. That's been started by our good friend Brian Burke, good friend of this radio station and a former voice on this radio station. And his GoFundMe is north of $3,000 already. I don't know how much a gong costs, but I have no doubt that our Grand River Regional Cancer Center can find a way to use those other funds that are raised through this GoFundMe that Brian Burke got started. So kudos to him and kudos to you for supporting it and making sure that we can replace what was taken from our Grand River Regional Cancer Center. This is our daily talkback hour. Every day at noon, we open the phone lines so we can hear directly from you on the show. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Thoughts on the issues of the day. Maybe you didn't get to make that call earlier, or there's something else you would like to make the issue of the day. That's what Talkback is here for, and we'll start with Mike. Good afternoon, Mike.
Hey, Mike, how you doing, bud?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good. Congratulations to Sam O'Reilly. That's a pretty big thing to do.
There was no other choice, Mike.
Yes,
if he had not won it, I would have gone right to the league offices and protested.
For sure. I would have been behind you.
Good man.
Mikey, you know, with the Leafs now, Mike, you know I got to talk about. We got to hope, Mike, that in the past with John, I can't even say his last name, but we got to hope that's in the past. I guess we got to give him a chance because they hired him, but hopefully Matt Sundin will be the bigger voice, and maybe he can, we got to trust Matt. We always trust Matt, but maybe, that's in the past, so let's give him a chance. And Mikey, don't worry, Tampa couldn't put out the garbage for us. Don't worry, Buffalo will, Mikey.
All right.
And go Rangers, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the call. I am so grateful. I'm more grateful than ever for my Rangers this year because it has been a disastrous hockey season for me otherwise. As a Leafs fan, we all know how that went. As a guy that really does not like the team that shall not be named. Like, I can't even say the name of the team. I dislike them so much. It's long-standing from my Leafs fanhood as a kid against that. I think that team and the arch rival, and just forget it. Just forget it. I can't even say that team's name. But look at them. Winning in the playoffs like my team seems unable to do. And if you missed it before, I'm just going to remind you of how one reporter greeted John Chayka, that's the John who Mike couldn't remember his last name, the new general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's being introduced at a media conference, and reporter Steve Simmons decided to ask Keith Pelly, the president and CEO of MLSE, the following question.
You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say, 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring, and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion that I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
Let's just be clear here for a moment. Steve Simmons asked the question that's on the minds of most every Leafs fan, and maybe even many hockey observers, right? As Mike mentioned before, there's a checkered past with this general manager. Mike thinks, give him a second chance. I think, I don't know, in a role like this, you don't gum up the way John Chayka has gummed up before and get welcomed back in with open arms. That's my take on it. First of all, his draft record and history as a general manager is not a good one, just in terms of building winning teams, which he didn't do. Then there's the whole NHL investigation and the suspension and blah, blah, blah. Second chances notwithstanding, I think in this situation, you don't get that chance to lead what should be one of the proudest, if not the proudest franchises in all of hockey. However, on the other side of that, I mean, Steve Simmons might as well be Dick Simmons on this because he's being a total Richard. He's doing it on purpose, and it's not cool. There is a way to respectfully ask the question, right? For example, you could say, Keith Pelly, I'm sure you've heard the criticisms. I'm sure you've heard that, a lot of people are confused that you would make this choice given John Chayka's past. How do you respond to those criticisms? Because surely you've heard them. What's wrong with that way? Same question, different way of phrasing it. This does nothing at all. And I think Dick Simmons takes pride in this, making it to be just an awful place to work in sports, the city of Toronto, because you've got members of the media who behave like that, like complete and utter jackwagons. And I got no time for it. And it also, more broadly, doesn't do anything for the role of or relationship of media to the people and organizations that they cover. Again, is the question generally fair? Absolutely. Is there a nicer, more respectful way of asking it? Hell to the yes. Dick Simmons. Don't give him a microphone again. I just platformed him one more time, didn't I? I don't like that approach at all. Ken is next with us on Talkback. Good afternoon, Ken.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I've heard this voice before, Ken Cameron, who joined our show earlier today.
You always have so many things you want to say or ask about, so I'm going to take like 30 seconds real quick.
Sure.
When you're giving out your Farwell Force member numbers, do they go in a sequence, or can I be 988?
Oh, buddy, can you be 988? Yes, of course you can be, because we want folks to remember that 988 is our mental health crisis line. Call it around the clock.
Right on. Mark me down, and that'll be my number.
I got you, brother. You got it.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Ken. You too. Bye. Great to hear from you today. Listen, Farwell's Force is gathering some momentum this week, and I love it. One of our listeners from afar, he listens up in Grey County, in one of the nicer spots of Grey County, can I tell you, up in Collingwood. But sent me, if you check our Facebook page, you'll see the pictures. Just go to the Mike Farwell Show on Facebook. I got back last week here to the station after a few days away in Windsor with the Rangers, and there were a couple of parcels waiting for me. One was addressed to the Grand Poobah. Thank you, Larry, for the awesome badges, and you can see them. Larry apparently used AI to create them with whatever machine he used. But anyway, I love it. It's great. I've always wanted to be the Grand Poobah, and now I have the button that proves that I am. And the other package came from a gentleman by the name of Chris, who grew up in this town, went to Forest Heights, graduated from the University of Waterloo, and then work took him up to Collingwood. And he continues to listen to this show day after day while working at his kind of retirement hobby. He makes these beautiful signs. So I now have a sign that says Kitchener, but it's kind of like a sign that would hang outside a railroad station. Like I love me some rail lines. And anyway, it's a beautiful piece of work that Chris put together, but he's listening to us all the way from Collingwood because he grew up here. And even though he moved away many, many years ago, he likes to listen to this show to stay connected to this community, which I think is awesome. And he sent this really nice letter with the gift that he sent. And he asked to have his own Farwell's Force number assigned, which he now has. I try to go in sequence, but as you just heard from Ken, hey, you want a number that's significant to you? By all means, be one of my randos. The important thing is that you are willing to join this ever-growing movement called Farwell's Force. We are a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. And all you have to do is listen for 15 minutes every day. And if you do that, we will gladly assign you a number to this growing movement that is Farwell's Force. I know that it's a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with, because that's the other button that Larry made for me, you see? And you can see that when you follow our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show. It's getting pretty shameless in here. Talk Back continues on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Talk Back Hour is your opportunity every day between noon and 1 to talk back at us. Make the call, we'll answer. You start the conversation. That's what Patty is going to do next. Good afternoon, Patty.
Hi, good afternoon. And I've got a few things I've written down. Number one, Mikey Hinchberger would be like, he's just screaming, so excited about the Rangers.
Bless his late, beautiful heart.
Oh, unbelievable, because I knew him at the home I still work at. Also, number two, there's no particular good order for this, but I'm glad you guys didn't have to do another long trip down to Windsor for the hockey. And, I mean, Barrie's, I don't know, it's a little bit closer, I think, than Windsor.
It is, about an hour and a bit,
A little bit. Also, the ALS guy, my father-in-law, this was way back in 1977, got diagnosed with it. And, I mean, thank goodness we've got what we've going on right now. Back then, there was no meds. I mean, it took a long time for a diagnosis, but it's one I contribute to now all the time. And then I honestly didn't know 988 was a suicide number either, and I will make sure I, relay that on and on and on to anybody I know.
Please do.
Yeah. Anyway, always a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Patty. Great to hear from you, too. Clearly somebody who was listening very closely today. Love that. Ken Cameron joined us earlier today on the show. He just called during Talkback to get his official Farwell's Force number of 988, which is that mental health crisis line, that suicide hotline, if you will. If you are feeling it, if you are under mental duress, 988 is the number to call to get support. And Ken, thanks to some terrific cooperation with the Kitchener Rangers, walks around with a Kitchener Rangers jersey with the number 988 on the back, reminding all of us that that's what it's all about, making that call if you are in need. And Ken wears this jersey because he lost a child to suicide and he wants to start the conversation and spread the word about that hotline. Just a terrific human interest and impactful story that we had on the show earlier today. And it was followed by Todd Kirk, a Cambridge man, who joined us to talk about his very recent diagnosis of ALS. And Todd will cut the ribbon at this year's Walk to End ALS at the University of Waterloo on June the 6th. You can learn more and maybe offer Team Kirk, Todd Kirk and his family, and others in our community who are dealing with ALS. You can offer them some support by going to walktoendals.ca. And we continue Talk Back with Joe. Good afternoon, Joe.
Afternoon, Mike. Hey, it's great to hear Mike's name on the radio, Uncle Mike. Holy cow.
Oh, Mikey Hinsberger. Yeah, of course.
I grew up a couple doors down from him, and I used to go visit him quite often. And he's a lot more chatty than people would realize, But I digress. Mike, what happened with Brantford last night? Did they crap the bed or what?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far, but I'll tell you this, because I went down to the game, and Ben Harebic, the goaltender for Barrie, was outstanding. And I just don't know what to tell you. The Bulldogs they didn't have it. They couldn't generate much, and when they did, Harebic was fantastic.
Well, now I got to change all my plans and everything. I got to come back tomorrow. It is what it is. But, it could be 6-1, half dozen the other. We'll see. But the one last thing before I go, everybody's freaking out about this new managerial change at the Leafs. So my question is could he do any worse than the idiots that came before him rather than worry about can he do the job? Can he do any worse than the idiots that came before him? That's what should be the question, Mike. And I'll leave you with that.
All right, Joe. Thank you. It's a great question. I think management here at the radio station asked the very same question when they put me in charge of this show. Can he really do any worse than the idiots that were here before? We'll just scrape the bottom of the barrel and get this Farwell guy who's been hanging around like an unwanted relative for the past 10 years at the station. Give him a chance. And here I am, still kicking and screaming 9 years later. It's a good question. It's a good question, Joe. Matt sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. I so appreciate you, Matt. I don't know why I try anymore. I love me some Bruce County. I think I know most of the little hamlets and villages and towns in Bruce. I get so mixed up when I leave the Bruce or, of course, the region of Waterloo. I said earlier that Collingwood was in Grey County, and Matt's email says, as a Collingwood to Kitchener transplant, I would have to correct that Collingwood is in Simcoe County, not Grey. However, both coffees are stunning. So Simcoe County coffee and Grey County coffee, is that what you mean? Anyway, maybe he means both counties are stunning. Regardless, I'm sorry for misallocating Collingwood into Grey. Maybe we could plot a Collingwood takeover of the enraged citizens of Grey County who always feel as though they are somewhat lesser than neighboring Bruce, right? Listen, I know all of the tea from up that way. Like the Hanover Barons wanted nothing to do with the hockey team from Walkerton, right? Because Hanover's in Grey and Walkerton's in the Bruce. And anyway, I'm sorry, Matt. I appreciate that. I really should stop trying. Geography, I've said this many times before. Geography, not my strong suit. Not a good subject in school. You could tell me that, I don't know, Antarctica was south, and I'd believe you. What? Anyway, I'm going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then we are going to continue talk back this afternoon. Phone lines are open to you. I also have a theory to share. I know why we are such lousy drivers these days. In fact, I was one of them last night. I'll tell you that and take more of your calls as we continue talk back on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every day, noon until 1, our phone line's open to you for the Talk Back Hour. Let's get right back to the phones. Our good friend Preston Paul, Farwell's Force, member number 45. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Got a couple of things here.
Sure thing.
First, was it Wilmot that turned down the CCTV cameras?
Yes, it was.
Did they give a reason why?
They thought it was a little bit Big Brother-y, a little bit too much of an invasion of privacy, as I recall.
Wow. I think I know where some of the crime is going to be going then.
I was going to say, now you know where to go steal a car, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't agree with pointing out where these cameras are. I like to see them put something out where I don't know how many cameras are going to go up, but just put up this many cameras in the region. You guess where they are. That's the way it should be, because if you're not doing anything illegal or anything wrong, then you should have no problem with these cameras at all.
Yeah, I think, did we get a call very similar to that? We did when Robbie called during Ask the Chief today. And I get it. I've heard that before. I think, I wonder, I mean, when it's going to be a government institution, I mean, you know, police are paid out of the taxpayers' dollars, et cetera. I think we do have a right to know in that regard for sure. And there is a responsibility on behalf of the organization to ensure that our privacy is protected in this. But I thought Chief Crowell made a really good point when he talked about, you know, just think about all of the Ring doorbell cameras you walk past every day, or, you know, cameras around people's private property, cameras at businesses. To your point, like we are on camera. I don't know how anybody gets away with anything or even tries to these days.
Yeah, that's true. But back before cameras were around, I can remember like 45 years ago, I saw a sign at somebody's window, and it said, "This house is guarded by shotgun 3 nights a week." You guess which 3. And Mike, I'm telling you, that has stuck with me since the day I read it. I just thought it was so funny. But anyways, good luck to the Rangers. And should be a great series, and we'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, Paul, great to hear from you today. It will be a great series, I have no doubt. I took myself down to Brantford last night to watch that Game 7 between the Brantford Bulldogs and the Barrie Colts. And I said before that news update, I've got a new, I don't know if I've mentioned it before. I might have. But anyway, my current working theory as to why it is we are such bad drivers, and it ties into my trip to Brantford last night. But it was a surprise for sure that the Barrie Colts, they were trailing Brantford 3-1 in the series, and Barrie won the next 3 games. So they were facing elimination on 3 straight nights. They got 3 straight terrific goaltending performances from their goaltender, Ben Horebic, and they came from behind to beat the Brantford Bulldogs in Game 7. And Brantford was the team from the very beginning of the season that many of us were predicting would not just win the Eastern Conference, but win the Ontario Hockey League. So that's a very big win for Barrie indeed. And the good news for the Kitchener Rangers, I mean, look, it had to take a good team to beat Brantford because Brantford was a good team. But the Kitchener Rangers are going to get home ice advantage now because they finished higher in the regular season standings than Barrie. And home ice advantage means so much. So this is a good thing for the Rangers. And it's a good thing that Barrie was just playing last night. They had to play this really tough stretch, 3 games in 6 nights just to win their last series. And now they're going to start a new series against the Kitchener Rangers. We get home ice tomorrow night for Game 1 of the OHL Championship. I will see your smiling face at the Memorial Auditorium. Cannot wait. As I was driving home from work yesterday, I have the good fortune, at least for creating this theory or reinforcing this theory, every day of passing the exits that take us onto our, well, I guess one's not a flyover, but take us onto Highway 8. So picture if you are driving Highway 7-8 westbound out towards New Hamburg, and you're coming up to the Ottawa Street exit. So, you know, the former Centennial Stadium, Jack Couch Park, the Memorial Auditorium's there on your right. You pass the Ottawa Street exit, you're coming up on the flyover, and only the farthest right lane can get off. No, yeah, the 2 lanes can, but when you're driving along on the expressway and your GPS tells you that you have to stay right, and you think you are staying right, anyway, people start making maneuvers at the last minute because they realize all of a sudden, ooh, this is where I need to get off, right? Or I can't switch lanes and let somebody else in because, you know, Ottawa Street traffic is entering the highway. Westbound traffic is trying to get off at the flyover. That's if you're heading westbound. If you're coming eastbound, and I pass this going home from work every day, it's a really short off-ramp lane, if you will, off of 7-8 East to get the Highway 8 cutoff to start heading out Highway 8 East towards Toronto. And yesterday, I saw it again at the last moment. This guy wasn't even cutting across a lane. He was well out of the lanes trying to cut across because he needed to get off at that exit. And it occurred to me then, and I reinforced my own theory last night. The reason that we are such poor drivers, in my opinion, is because we don't know where we're going anymore. We don't really know where we are. The only way we get places is by putting the address into our GPS, usually our phone, whatever we use Google Maps, use Waze, I don't care what you use, but that's the only way we know how to get anywhere. We just don't know where anything is anymore. Why do I have to know where it is? Why do I have to know where I am in relation to the place that I'm going? I'm just going to follow what this electronic device tells me to do. And then we don't pay enough attention, or it doesn't tell us soon enough, and all of a sudden we're making these ridiculous and wild lane changes. When I was leaving the arena in Brantford last night, there was a lot of construction around the arena. And thanks Google Maps for nothing, because it kept directing me into more construction. But here I am trying to follow my phone, and it was very little help to me. So when I got out of the construction zones, and now I have no idea where I am. I'm just continually making these turns that I have to make because the map sends me into construction. And I'm trying to figure out where I got to go next. I thought, well, I'll just turn here, and the GPS will reroute me. And Google Maps did reroute me multiple times until I got onto roads that were not under construction. I tried my best to follow those prompts. If I knew my next turn was going to be a right-hand turn, I'd try to get into the right-hand lane ahead of time. I don't think we do enough of that. My working theory as to why we seem to be such lousy drivers is because we do not know where we're going. We don't know where we are, and we don't know where we're going. We only know what the GPS is telling us to do. And it either tells us too late, or we don't pay enough attention until it's too late. And then we make these ridiculous attempts to get where the GPS is telling us to go. my sincere hope and recommendation to you, quite frankly, is to, learn a little bit more about where you are and where you're headed. And maybe, just maybe, we can reduce our reliance on these ridiculous electronic devices and be a little safer out there on the roads. I remember Young Drivers of Canada way back in the 1980s told me when I was getting in my vehicle, I should always plan ahead for my next move so that I wouldn't do wild things, last-minute lane changes, etc., because it's dangerous and, not to mention, annoying for other drivers. Just before we take a break, did you hear what the leader of the official opposition said about the premier of our province? Marit Stiles came out, I don't even know if you call this coming out swinging. I don't even know, if you're the premier, do you have grounds for, is it libel? Is it defamatory? I don't know, but you might have a case for something. If you missed it, here's what Marit Stiles had to say about Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
But listen, don't worry about it, Doug, because when I'm premier, I'm going to call a public inquiry into all of this, and we're going to get our hands on all of that. And you know what? Maybe you won't get another mandate because you'll be in prison, Doug. Now,
What?
I think that when we call a public inquiry, which is what it took to get to the bottom of some of the questions around other governments, I think it's a lot of terrible stuff is going to come out. Why is the premier hiding all of this information from the people of Ontario? Why doesn't he want anybody to know what's on his phone? Because there's dirty dealings around the Greenbelt. The RCMP is investigating him, and I would be very surprised if at the end of this there might very well be charges laid. Absolutely. Look, other governments have had people end up behind bars for less than this.
Now, is it just me, or did Marit Stiles just call Doug Ford a criminal? Is that what she said? Am I reading too much in between the lines there? I feel as though she just said that Doug Ford is a criminal. That's the leader of the official opposition here in Ontario, riffing on the premier of this province. He's going to go to jail. He's going to be behind bars. Do you have the evidence for that, Ms. Stiles? Or are we just ranting? I don't know. I think there will be more to come. At minimum, I might think an apology. We'll see. There's more to come on the Mike Farwell Show. Stay with us. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It seems like the perfect time of day, this being the noon hour, the traditional time for us to enjoy a bite to eat, to remind you of this upcoming event. This upcoming event is a presentation by Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary. It is the annual Lobster Fest, and a member of Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary, Brian Stortz, joins us to talk a little more about it. Brian, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And, we couldn't talk about lobster in this town if we didn't talk to the codfather himself, Ron Caudle. It's not cod, but the best place to get lobster in this town is Caudle's Catch. We know that. Hello, codfather.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Great, thanks. How about you?
Go Rangers. Go Rangers.
Should I ask you, Ron, because I know you're as passionate a fan as I am, should I even ask you about the Leafs?
You know what? When they traded Marner, they traded my loyalty.
Wow. Okay. I'm with you on the Go Rangers. If it wasn't for the Rangers this year, Ron, I don't know what I would do with hockey.
No kidding.
But talking Leafs kind of does take away your appetite, though. So
okay, Brian. Point made. Brian, what are the details? Upcoming Lobster Fest on Friday, June the 5th. This is an annual event with Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, this is sort of one of the marquee events in Waterloo Region. It's, again, as you say, it's on the 5th of June. It's at St. George's Banquet Hall in Waterloo. The lobster is going to be provided again this year. It'll be fantastic and delicious, as always, by Coddles, and hopefully Ron can add to that. We're also having ribs, salad, and a really good menu. The band is Group Therapy and the OCD Horns, which is a local favorite. So it's going to be a really great night.
Ron, let's talk a little bit more about your involvement, because every time I turn around, I see you and the Caudle family, supporting this event, supporting that cause. What's behind all of it?
I think my parents taught me to give back, Mike, when we could, whether it was a little bit or a lot. And I think I've instilled that in my family because they certainly are honored to be able to help out in our community. And, supporting your home community where your family's from, your employees are from, and your customers are from has always been big to us. And that's why we help out. We've been helping the Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary Club for over 15 years with their Lobster Fest and a number of other things in the community that we're proud to support.
Brian, what do the funds raised from Lobster Fest help the club do?
Well, our club is involved with both local work, and we support a lot of local causes, but the other main thrust of our club is international work. And a couple of the projects that funds will go towards, one of them is our Ukraine Relief Fund. We provide direct funding for on-the-ground support in the Ukraine to deal with the ongoing war that unfortunately has been part of that country the last 4 years. We have a school for the deaf in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, ISMA. That I think it's the only school for the deaf in Mexico, and we've been supporting that school for a number of years. And again, it's transforming the lives of a lot of young people. And the other one that we're highlighting this year is Children of Promise, which is a orphanage in South Sudan. So we're kind of supporting, I guess, two of the major wars that are, or the people who are being affected by the two major wars that are going on in the Ukraine and in South Sudan. So those are just a number of about a dozen projects that we support internationally.
And Ron, I know because we've enjoyed partaking in Lobster Fest in the past that just because you're gifting this lobster for this event doesn't mean it's like the seconds that you wouldn't put into the store at Cottle's Catch. Like, this is top line stuff that you're sharing here.
Yeah, we bring it in the day of the event to ensure the freshness and that everybody's going to be happy with the lobster. I just don't understand why they're serving ribs and salad when you can eat lobster and dessert. It just doesn't make sense to me.
You can have doubles of lobster.
I encourage people to go to the event, to support what the Rotary Club does to help out local and partisan causes. And you might see the codfather there, and I might even crack your lobster.
Oh, very good. And that would be an expert cracking, too.
Yes, guy.
Where does this passion for seafood come from, Ron? Why the seafood business?
Well, I'm from Halifax, and when I get transferred up to Kitchener, every time I went home, I had to bring stuff back for people. And one of my bosses ordered some lobster, and I took the lobster to his house when I get back, and he said, "Well, are you going to cook it?" I said, "I don't know how to cook lobster. I had to call my mom." and now, of course, we go through thousands of pounds a week, and that's kind of how it started. We get my wife and Sylvia and I get tired with the politics of big business and decided to open something on our own, and that was 40 years ago last month. So. I think we did a pretty good job at it. Oh,
I know you did. Happy anniversary. That's a milestone to reach there, 40 years in our community.
I started the business when I was 15, Mike.
I know you did, Ron. Listen, I already knew that. But that goes without saying. Brian, how can we get tickets and be there at St. George Banquet Hall on Friday, June the 5th for Lobster Fest?
It's really easy. Go to lobsterfest.ca. We have a specific website for buying tickets, and the ticket information is there both for individual tickets. If there's any interest in buying a corporate table, I can give you my home phone number. It's 519-502-8137. So if someone out there wants to buy a corporate table, they can contact me directly. I sound like the Premier of Ontario giving out my cell number. But if you want to buy individual tickets, go to lobsterfest.ca.
It is a signature event in our community. We'll point folks in that direction. Lobsterfest.ca. But if you want to call Brian directly, hey, he shared it. 519-502-8137. Brian, thanks for the work that you and the entire club with Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary do, and appreciate you making time today.
Yeah, thanks, and thank you. You've been amazing.
Always a pleasure. And Ron, go Rangers. We're just going to focus on that, buddy.
Yes, guys. Go Rangers.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, you both. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thanks,
See you later, Mike. Thank you.
Bye. Ron Cottle and Brian Storage. Brian, a member of Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary. Ron Cottle, Coddle's Catch. 40 years and a month in business. He's known around here as the Cod Father. Check out lobsterfest.ca. It's Kitchener-Conestoga's signature event. Comes up on Friday, June the 5th at St. George Banquet Hall in Waterloo. I think we got time for one more before we call it a day here on the show. Dan is with us. Good afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon, Mike. You're a sweetheart for squeezing me in.
Buddy, I always got time for you.
Right on. And you know what? That's a great cause you were talking about there. And I know you support your own major fundraising campaign. I just wanted to say, have you ever thought of summoning your Farwell Force members to do some sort of fundraising project?
Absolutely, I have. It's funny you should ask, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, well, there's
it is funny.
Well, there's two things. First of all, we're having a launch party for our fundraiser this year on Thursday, June the 4th. I would love to see all 400. Okay, we don't have quite room for quite that many, but hey, we would love to see 100 of the Farwell's Force members show up at Block 3 on Thursday, June the 4th and celebrate the launch of our Farwell for Hire fundraiser with us. And
What time is it?
It starts at 6.
Right on.
The other thing I was thinking is we got 400 members now in Farwell's Force. If each member donated just $25, we got $10,000. I think I did that math right. So there you go.
Right.
Okay. So you asked. There's my answer.
Okay.
All right.
I hope to hear more. Have a great day, Mike.
Thanks, Dan. You too. You can find out more on Facebook. Just look up Farwell, the number 4 Hire. Farwell for Hire on Facebook. Launch party tickets are right there. Would love to see you on Thursday, June the 4th. Would love to hear your voice tomorrow morning at 9 when we come back and do this again, okay? My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.